Everyone, and welcome to the Big Brother 22 Roundtable podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Armstrong, and we are here today to talk about everything happening on the feeds and go over the stock watch and rate the players this week on their game. Welcome. Melissa is with me here. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to be back on the roundtable. I missed it last week, which was very sad. So I'm excited to be here to talk about it. I feel like there's a lot that's happened since then. So this might be a long one.
It might be. Also with me is Brent. How you doing, Brent?
I'm doing great. You know, we often talk about the fact that Melissa and I are usually not on the weekend shows, so we don't get to have much of a say often until Tuesday, and that really holds true tonight because I know that both of us have opinions on what's been happening in the Big Brother house. Honey, I'm here to tell you.
Oh boy. Well, speaking of someone with opinions, Aman is our special guest this week to join us for the first portion of the podcast where we're going to talk about what's been happening on the feeds. Aman, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm okay. It's been rough. I'm still remaining as positive as I can. But yeah, I mean, like Brent said, a lot has happened, and I feel like there's just so much to talk about. And so I'm glad to have the opportunity to sort of like vent tonight.
That's what we do. Yes.
That's what the roundtable is all about, really. At least this season. Usually it's like Brent and I have other occasions to vent and just complain and talk and say everything we want to say, but this year this season it's been a lot of we just spew everything out and then we get to the stock watch.
Yes.
Yeah. This is where I just let you guys like just rage for a while, and then I get to rate my players.
Yeah. Yeah, you like let us go run wild.
One for you, one for me. That's
exactly what it is.
All right. So we're here. We're gonna talk about what's been happening this week. It's been a week. It's been a week. We had Devon losing the HOH to Christmas by a hair. Christmas, our new HOH, who nominated Day and Bay, then also won the veto and chose not to use it. And it currently looks like Bailey is the one that will be going home, although I personally am not like 100% locked in that that's the case. But there's a lot to talk about from the week. In particular, the main story of the week, we saw these nominations happen. Bay and Day. Bay and Day compared notes with Danny and figured out, I wouldn't say figured out. I would say came to the incorrect conclusion that Tyler was playing both sides when in reality he was playing one side, and Tyler got outed, and then Tyler went to Bay and Day and told them that he was going to try to get himself nominated and evicted this week so that Bay could stay in the game or Day could stay in the game, whichever one of them he thought was going home at that moment. And that's where a lot of the drama came in with the veto, because he did pitch this to Christmas and the feeds were down for all of it. And by the time they came back, essentially, Christmas was not using the veto. She chose not to use it. Bay and Day remain on the block, and the internet has gone wild, Aman.
Yeah. Internet has gone wild, and for a lot of reasons. You know, the conversation between Bailey, Devon, and Tyler had a lot to do with Tyler wanting to leave the game, primarily because he was sort of done. I mean, you've spoken on the morning update, and I think all of you have kind of spoken about how Tyler has sort of, you know, not really been able to find the footing that he wanted from the get-go because Casey is not there. And so he's not really having the same time that he had back in BB20. And I feel like after, it's been a month, it's been over a month now at this point, they've been in that house. It's culminated to a point where he's like sort of done. So that's where the conversation initiates. But then when listing motivations as to why he wants to go, he peppers in some things about how he realizes that Bailey and Devon are there for a bigger reason than him. And he wants to help them get closer to that goal. He's had similar conversations with David where he said, I don't want to get in the way of what it is that you have come here to accomplish. I want to help you get there. Devon in particular is going to take this with a lot of shock because she doesn't know Tyler to be a quitter. Out of all the things that she's seen from him, it's not something that she would associate with him. And on top of that, it's also something that is not done in the game of the Big Brother. People don't usually say, I'm going to lay down my life on this game for this cause that you guys are trying to achieve in the house. So this is where a lot of issues start to arise, because it seems like if this is part of your reasoning and this is so important to you, this is either going to happen or you're going to have to explain why it does not happen. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
Now, and just to be clear, like he also mentioned the movement when he was talking with Bailey and Devon, and that combined with what he had said previously was what led most of us, if not all of us, to understand him to mean talking about Black Lives Matter and the social awakening that has happened across the country over the past 6 months. And that was the point in time where Devon especially felt like, okay, I'm not sure I believed him before, but I do now. Like he wouldn't use this and be lying about it. Mm-hmm. And I agree with her on that, but she also maybe didn't allow for the fact that maybe Tyler himself doesn't know why he's saying that, which I think is really what happened. Like Tyler, it's not really about Black Lives Matter. It's not about helping Bailey and Devon. Tyler just doesn't want to play Big Brother. Tyler doesn't have control necessarily of the game. He's not living for the game. His friends aren't in the game. His friends were never on the cast. He wants to go home. He is in love with Angela. He knows if he goes one more week, he's going to be stuck in jury. And he doesn't, I don't know if he really feels like he can win the game. I think he has a lesser opinion of himself than maybe we do, of like, because I gave him a 9 last week in the stock watch. I obviously have a great opinion of Tyler and his potential to win the game. But overall, like, I don't think his heart is in it. And then when his heart's not in it, he starts to become a little defeated and he starts to say these things. And then it becomes really tough to take 24 hours later when all of a sudden, you know, Black Lives Matter? Who said that? Like obviously he didn't say that, but like that's how it came off to the rest of us, because it didn't seem like he really gave a shit about Bay or Day, didn't warn them that the veto wasn't going to be used, lied to them outright by saying, oh, well, you know, they said like, you know, I can't, production said we can't tell you, or that Christmas can't tell you or whatever, which was an obvious lie. And then he made fun of them after the veto ceremony by closing the veto box and doing the bloop, bloop, nope, not going to use it, bloop, like, which seemed like he didn't give a shit about them. So it's like the tale of two Tylers almost. Like, I don't even know who to believe at this point, and my score reflects that.
Yeah, and I do want to just to clarify, because this has become a sticking point for some reason, that I don't think Tyler specifically said anything about the movement, but he said that mentioned multiple times that he knows that they're standing for something greater than himself, and that he wants to see that play out, and that he wants to support them, and that he wants to contribute. Again, there was an obvious implication.
I need to go back and listen to it. I swear I thought I heard him say movement. He never said the word movement at all?
I don't think so.
Okay. Right.
But like I said, there was an obvious implication,
okay,
and it's definitely how Day and Bay took it, and it's how I think a lot of people took it.
It's how he wanted it to be taken. Yeah. Let's be real.
Yeah. There was no other way to take it, and even if he's not saying like those words in particular, you know that the reason that Bailey and Devon are even bringing in that energy is because of what's happening outside the house, and because of the history of casting in Big Brother within itself. So I think across the board, no matter what was said, okay, Siri, okay, nobody asked for your opinion. No matter what was,
well.
Yeah, that's the people like on Twitter or something like, hey.
Exactly. No matter what was said, we know exactly what was being implied here. So I think it's hard for people to stomach, like as Brent said, it's hard for people to stomach that when that no longer becomes a talking point afterwards, because you cannot use something that huge to list as a reasoning as to why you want to leave as a part of the reason as to why you want to leave, because we know that largely it's because he just wants to go back and eat hummus with Angela. And I'm not saying that to be reductive. I'm just saying that them's the breaks. Like, he just wants to go home and be with his girlfriend. So don't add in the stuff about helping them succeed with their cause if that's not going to be a main sticking point in your reasoning.
Well,
And
like, Amon, it's never
furthermore-
been before. Like, let's say he's never given a shit about Bay and Day before in regard to the cause. He's never talked about that before. He's never talked about that with them.
Mhm.
So why all of a sudden is it a big deal now? Like, that's why it seems so shallow to me in terms of like, oh, I want to help you do this. When like, you know, he's been doing things in the past that have not necessarily been in the best interest of Bay and Day. He's been the one in some ways that it's caused some friction between Bay and Day and Christmas. He talked to Christmas. He knew that she was going to put up Bay and Day. Didn't try to, in my view, I watched that conversation, didn't really try to swing her a different direction. He has more pull than that with Christmas. He really didn't use that pull. So like, what does he care? Like, he only cares, and then I feel like the real truth of the matter is even worse than the fiction, Taryn, because like the next day when he realizes that, oh, I thought, when he's talking to David and he says, oh, well, I realized that I thought I was the one that caused Danny to be upset with Bay and Day, but actually Danny's already been going after Bay and Day for a long time. It wasn't because of me, so I didn't cause that. So who gives a fuck now? It's like you can't do those things in a 24-hour period. Like, that's just terrible. I'm trying not to be too hard on it, but like I really didn't like that.
Yeah, and I want to be very sticklery on specifics, because this is such a touchy topic for so many people. Tyler has tried to sway Christmas away from Bay and Day in the past, but I do agree with you, Brent, that this week he did not.
Which is why I was so blown away. Like, when we saw that Christmas won HOH on Thursday night, I was on the show on Thursday, I think. No, I was on Wednesday. But I was in the chat on Thursday, and I was like, it'll be fine. Tyler will get to them. Tyler will say, you know, hey, you need to target Danny and Nicole, or Danny and somebody, or someone backdoor Danny. Never really was an issue. Never really. He like maybe brought it up one time and then like completely shut it down and moved on to, well, I know you're going to target Bay and Day, and you know, oh well.
I mean, I feel like a total idiot, because last week on the podcast I was on Thursday and I said I like thought we were in for a good week, because I really did think that Tyler had some reason to not want Bay and Day to go home. I thought that he would use the opportunity to get rid of Danny, because it seemed like that was like coming to a head or something. And then when he didn't push back on Tyler or on Christmas, when Christmas was suggesting Day and Bay, I was like, okay, but maybe this is like a way for him to get Danny backdoored still. Like, maybe he doesn't care who's on the block to start the week out with, then he's going to get Danny backdoored. But then like, it just didn't even seem like that was even an option in his head. And I think the thing for me about this whole week is like, it's very difficult, because like, we don't know the motives behind everything, like unless we were like in their heads. So especially for Tyler, like, I don't necessarily know the motives behind it, but to me, it does seem like he wanted to go home. He was ready to go home. He the last week before jury, he's like, this is my last opportunity. I'm going to go home. And I think it seems like maybe there's a possibility that he thought it would look bad, and also it would look better. So like, it would look bad if he just decides to go home and says like, okay, I'm leaving. But it would look better if he was like, you know what, I'm sacrificing myself, and this is a good cause. So like, it's like two benefits here. Like, why not kill two birds with one stone, where it's like, I get to go home, but I also get to help out this thing. This is great. Okay, let me do it. And then the issue then comes when he decides not to go through with it for whatever reason. And then number one, he doesn't tell Bailey and Davon that like, hey, I'm sorry, like I'm gonna have to stay, like I am staying, like I apologize, I got your hopes up, whatever. And number two, that he then didn't try to get Christmas to backdoor Danny or use the veto on one of them, so that way they weren't both on the block at the end of the week. If the real reason, if he really did care about helping Bailey and Davon at this point, like even prior to that, who cares? Like that's like, you know, that's in the past, whatever. If we're just looking at this week, he then could have helped them after he had promised them, like Eric said, like, you know, I'm going to go home. This is happening for you guys. You guys are going to be saved. Then that doesn't happen. And instead of then trying to find another way to help them, he just is like, whatever. And that I think is part of the issue.
Like, he just totally co-opted the cause for his own benefit. I do feel like that's true. I feel like he's like, I'm going to be looked at as a quitter if I just outright quit. But if I do it for this, Twitter will love me. And I know, like I talked about this on Twitter, that the fact that Tyler's been very sensitive to the fact that he gets shit from Twitter. Obviously deleted his Twitter at one point, and then he came back. Then I think he deleted it. Then he brought it back, whatever. Obviously had problems with me, but has had problems with other people on Twitter as well, where he's a little thin-skinned. And look, I think a lot of reality people are thin-skinned. I think Tyler in particular is particularly thin-skinned about criticisms, about anything to do with him. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like listening to it. To be fair to him, no one does, but some people can take it better than others. And I think he was trying to look good to people by quitting the game. Like, he's like, okay, if I want to quit the game, I got to look better. And this is a good way to do it.
I think there was a lot of the whole, I mean, like you said, the whole thing with Bailey during BB20, obviously, he didn't come away from that situation unscathed. And I feel like there was a lot of potential in BB22 for a refurbishing of that relationship with Bailey, right? There was a lot of potential for him to mend that, for the both of them to come together, to finally work together, put their past behind them, and push forward in the game. That obviously wasn't happening. He felt guilty about that not happening. He didn't push back when Bailey and Devon got put on the block. They end up on the block. Christmas wins veto. She obviously doesn't want to use it. Bailey's the target. He's going to have to cast a vote against Bailey because his ride or die wants Bailey out of the house. So I feel like at that point, in combination with wanting to go home, it was like, you know what? I feel guilty about this. Let me remove myself from the equation. That way I don't have to cast any votes against anybody. And on top of that, I know that you guys are here for this greater cause. Let me help you with that. That's fine. And I know that a lot of people are like, okay, well, you can't blame Tyler for the decisions that Christmas had. You can't blame Tyler for what production says to him. You also can't expect Tyler to lay his life down in the game on the line for this cause. Like, you can't expect him to do that. And here's what I'll say to that. That is exactly why Devon was so surprised, because that never, ever happens. You never expect white people in the game of Big Brother to be like, oh, you know what? I really, 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 really want to see somebody of color win this game. And on top of that, I really, 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 really want to take myself out to make that happen. Who does that? No one has done that. That is why Devon was like sold on the fact that it was going to happen. So if he had said none of that, if he had just wanted to go home and that was it, and then it didn't happen, and then he reneged on the deal, fine. I still would have felt some kind of way about it because it's Bailey and Devon. I would have felt some kind of way about it, but I would not feel as slimy about it as I do now. And I think that's the issue that people have to understand. That is why Devon was in tears, because she said, "This, you don't know how much this means, Tyler. You don't know how much this means." And a lot of people will then also make the point, oh, well, Bailey and Devon are also using the same logic in the game. How is that any better for Bailey and Devon to come into the game and be like, oh, well, I don't know if I can vote David out because he's a black man. I don't know if I can do that. Of course they're going to feel that way, folks. Of course they're going to feel that way. We know the history of the show. We know the demographic makeup of the winners of the leaderboard. We know the tea. Production knows the tea. That's why they put 4 black people in the house this year. They know what's going on. They know the critique. So for this to happen and for Tyler to go out of his way to make that comment, that's a big deal. And people need to realize that, or else we would not have 4 black people on this season to begin with. We are in the midst of a huge social upheaval and political upheaval. We have been through the ringer in the past 4 years as a country. We have. That is going to trickle down into the game of Big Brother. That's just the simple fact of the matter. And I know that a lot of people want to be able to separate that sort of stuff from from this television show, because that's all they want. They just want to talk about game. They want to talk about strategy. They want to talk about the stock watch. They want to talk about who's making the best move for who's going to be the next legend, who's the next Derek, who's the next worst player, who's the next Rachel.
Yeah.
I know that people just want to talk about that stuff.
But that's not.
the simple
They
fact
can't
of the
talk about
matter
that
is-
because the house guests aren't doing that though, Amon. Because there's no way. Let me tell you this: there's no way that Christmas puts two people on the block and refers to them constantly about your untouchable, rather than just your final two if they're not two black girls. And the only two black girls in the house. That is the only reason why she is using that particular word and going over it over and over again to try and make herself feel less guilty, is because they are the only two black girls in the house, and she fears that. That is the reason why she put them on the block together, and that's why she uses the word untouchable rather than just like, oh, you made a deal together or you got a final two together. Because why have you ever heard that referred to in any other space? I have not. And it does seem to me like Christmas goes out of her way to pick on the fact that, well, obviously you guys have each other's back because you are the same. And so I have to put you on the block together because you guys won't vote against each other. That's how it feels to me. Whereas, you know, you have two Jersey guys in the house and like, you know, Enzo and Cody, like she never cared about that. She doesn't care about that because she feels like there's an in there, but she can't look inside of herself and identify with them because she's just too blind. She's too freaking ignorant about it. And like,
that's
and then
why
that just followed with, yeah, go ahead.
That's exactly why we've been asking for season after season for diverse casting, because when you get more people of all backgrounds in that house, these problems become diluted, and it's not going to happen overnight. It's not a simple fact of putting more people in the house of all different shades and colors and all that stuff, because clearly there are 5 black people in the house or 4 black people in the house right now. And there's still some issues here. So it's going to take some time. It's a structural issue. It's a societal issue, but it's an issue nonetheless. And I feel like people need to understand that, and that people also need to understand that Big Brother is not going to fix this. All Big Brother does is highlight this stuff. That's all it does.
Oh yeah,
that's all it does.
I mean, I think that one of the comebacks, I guess, that I see the most in regards to like, oh, there should be more diverse casting is, well, no, look, it perfectly represents the percentages in America or in Canada or wherever, that like there's a certain percentage of these people and a certain percentage of these people. But like, yeah, that's the point. Real life isn't fair either. What are you trying to say? Like, have you looked outside? There's a problem in real life too with those percentages. Unfortunately, there's no magic way to fix that one, to make there be more diverse people in our country. But we can put more diverse people in Big Brother or wherever. And like we can do something about this one, something very, very easy, which is just have a more diverse cast. It's not that hard. Just bringing it back to Tyler briefly, that I feel like I have a problem with him invoking the greater thing that Bailey and Devon stand for. And I had a problem with, there's 2 things I have a problem with that Tyler did. The first was that, and I had a problem with that whether or not he was going to quit, because I did not believe
we had a problem with that in real time when we saw it happening. This is exactly why I said don't do that. Do not do that.
I had a problem with that before he quit, and him not quitting had no bearing on my feelings toward that. I still feel like he should not have done that. Then the second thing is that, in my opinion, and look, I think the most generous way that we can interpret this, and the way that I can buy, is that he really did genuinely mean it. He really did genuinely want to support them and see them succeed. Absolutely. The problem is that he didn't genuinely want that enough, that it was enough to, lock that decision in. Because again, he doesn't even make that decision if that's his primary concern. And if it's not your primary concern, then you shouldn't be bringing it up, because it's you're just taking advantage of like a side benefit, right? Like it may be genuine, you may want it, but it's not the reason you're doing it. So just don't don't bring it up. Just don't act like it's something that is part of your equation.
That's the main crux of the issue, because we've been having a dialogue about performative activism online, not specifically in Big Brother or whatever, but like just in general, as we're going through what we've been going through for the past few months. The difference between really putting your feet to the ground and working towards real change, and just, I liken it to those ASPS commercials, whatever, those the commercials with the dogs that are, looking sad in cages and ever, and you're on TV and you're watching that commercial and you're like, oh my God, that is so sad. I wish somebody could help them. And then you turn the channel.
That's a genuine feeling.
Yes, it's a genuine feeling. You feel bad for the dogs, but what you gonna do about it? You know what I mean? So unless you are prepared to go the distance, because what you're doing is reinforcing that this sort of emotional appeal that you're trying to make is that's okay, and that you can do nothing else. You know what I mean? Because that's we're trying to move past that point.
Mon, I have a question for you. I've heard this bandied about on Twitter, and I don't really know how I feel about it, but I'm sort of like, I find myself a little bit agreeing with it based on what the house guests are saying. The fact that Big Brother cast 4 Black people in the cast this year and 5 people of color, do you feel like that, since that still isn't a majority because there's 16 people who started the game, that made them an even bigger target? That they're still even more fearful of them working together, because you'd hear like Cody and other people saying things like, well, David, obviously Davon, Kevin, what do those people have in common? It just seemed to me like they are afraid of that. And going along with that, I was talking about what Taryn was talking about, like Arissa Cox, recently became executive producer of Big Brother Canada, and she tweeted this out a couple weeks ago, and I'll just read you the first part of the thread. She said, there is a reason Big Brother Canada and I are aiming for at least 50% biracial, indigenous, and people of color for our next cast. Big Brother is a numbers game. If we want every player to have the same chance to succeed, we must evolve past the idea that minorities in the country must remain minorities in the house. And then she went on to say a lot of other interesting and cool things. But that is where I'm coming from. And I just wanted to know, the fact that they're not a majority in the house, but they have more numbers than maybe they would have had on a quote unquote regular season of Big Brother. Do you feel like that has not helped them? Or how do you feel about that?
I think that it is a step in the positive direction to put more people of color in the house, point blank, period. How people in the game respond to that is the growing pains that we are going to continue to have to grapple with until it becomes a more consistent thing. That's why it can't be just one season because of what's going on in the world. We're like, oh well, let's throw 4 Black people in there and let's hope that hopefully that's going to fix it. No, you need to consistently be putting more people in the house from all walks of life, because then what's going to happen eventually with time and with history is like people are going to be more accustomed to seeing other types of people, and therefore feel more inclined to work with more types of people. Right now, we're not really getting that because we're just not at that point in time. We're not at that point in time, especially with the Black Lives Matter movement. You cannot expect to want to see these Black people want to vote each other out. And it's a very touchy issue, and it's playing out on television, and people don't want to have to talk about it. But that's it. What are we supposed to do? You know what I mean? It's either you don't cast them at all, and then we're still talking shit, or you do cast them. You see how that works, and you want to cast more. Like I just feel like we're on a ladder right now where we're trying to get to a good space. Sometimes we fall a few rungs short of that, but I feel like in a bigger picture, we're trying to get to that space. So yes, did this make them a bigger target? Probably, considering what's going on in the world right now, probably. But in the next 20 years, if there are more Black people consistently on the show, will it be as much of a problem? Hopefully not. That's what people are trying to miss. But all they see right now is, oh, all the Black people are bringing in this message right now, and it's hurting the game. I'm like, this is the game. Okay. This is the game.
Yeah. So just the second problem I had with Tyler is the afterward that we've talked about, that he did not then go and like explain or apologize. And again, the most generous reading that I have of this, and I'm inclined again to believe it, is that Christmas convinced him that Bailey was stabbing him in the back, that Bailey was playing him because she had said that she was okay with putting Tyler on the block last week before any of this happened, and that he's making himself look like a fool, giving up his game for somebody that had been playing him the whole time. And I think that made Tyler feel justified to, okay, fine, hands off. I'll let this happen, and not feel like he needed to apologize. That's, I think, where this came from. It's played out so often this season with so many people. This idea that because I was wronged, I am justified in then wronging somebody else, and I think that that's something to learn from as well. Now, I personally want to be clear that, like, I think that Tyler, again, he has made some very big mistakes. I don't think that he should have done these things. I have seen him getting death threats. I don't think that we should go there. Not that, you know, those people will listen to me, but that is too far.
Those people will listen to Taron Armstrong, let me tell you.
Yeah. Even there is an Oprah magazine article titled that Tyler uses Black Lives Matter to further his game. I don't think that's a fair representation of the situation, and I don't think it's helping the situation to drive it to these extremes, because it takes away from the conversation I think that we're trying to have, which is what he actually did and what he actually should be learning from, and what we can all be learning from. So that would be my stance on this, Iman.
There's a contingent of the Big Brother fandom that expects you, once you're all in on a player, they expect you to support every single thing they do, every single thing that they do without question. So the minute that you offer up some critique about Tyler's game moves, or specifically what he did in this situation, it's like, oh, he does not deserve all of this. Look, I agree with Taron. I do not support the death threats. I don't think that, I'm not trying to demonize Tyler. I don't think that Tyler is a horrible human being. I think that he made a horrible mistake. And I feel like if he doesn't realize if he doesn't realize what he just did, and that he doesn't feel justified in making an apology to Bailey or Davon for what he did, that is an issue. If it, and this is that conversation between game and, you know, real life issues. It's like, okay, well, if you got talked off the block because Christmas told you, well, don't do that for Bailey. Bailey's been talking all this trash about you. That's not cool. Fine. If you have decided to stay in the game because you feel like you've been had, or production is holding that check over your head, which I think is more likely, and you don't want to have to do this for Bailey anymore, fine. You don't have to tell Bailey your reasoning, but you still have to address what you said to them. Point blank, period. Because that, if you are not able to understand the gravity of the words that you were using to make them think that you were going to help them, then that is an issue. You can't just say things willy-nilly and then expect for people to not have an issue with it. And I feel like a lot of people they're having trouble connecting with that, because in the real world, you don't connect with it anyway. So, and that's the issue that we're having right now.
God, we haven't even talked about Christmas yet.
I'm reading that this article may have been a little more nuanced than the title suggests. I mean, that I don't want to get into the
title's clickbaity,
irresponsibility of journalists in terms of that.
That's
sort
a whole
of
nother
thing.
conversation.
But, I mean, I'm looking at the article, and I don't know. If I was just skimming this, I would 100% come away with that idea.
Yeah, people don't read.
Yeah. But anyway, yes, there was also some major drama that went down between Christmas and Davon and Bailey, that they got into an argument about. Christmas was saying there's no such thing as personal game information, and Davon was saying, yes, there is such a thing as personal game information, and this blew up into, I think the real thing that got Christmas so heated was that she is aware of a lot of the things going on. She's aware of her own reputation from Big Brother 19, and she is feeling like she is being cast in a certain light. And Bailey and Devon are feeling like they are unable to engage in the level that Christmas is bringing to them, and that was very upsetting for them. And Christmas is the aggressor here. She is the one that is, which is not to say that that the argument wasn't continued. Devon walks away because she's great. I think that Bailey came in to continue the discussion because she wanted to protect Devon and sort of like take the heat off of Devon, and then they get heated, and Christmas was putting her hands in Bailey's face, and Bailey was trying to remain calm because she doesn't want to be seen as this, you know, angry black woman that she has the reputation for being, that is our things that Christmas herself has said, like, oh, I'm afraid I'm gonna get shot if I put these two up on the block. And so, you know, this was very upsetting for Day and Bay, rightfully so. And I think that, again, this is something worth talking about because, again, I feel like when we talk about these things, we often get bogged down in the details about, well, should Christmas have put them up? Was it a good move for Christmas? Did she have real reasons? Was she right in this argument? Was it her fault that it blew up this way? So on and so forth. But if we always pick apart the individual situations, we'll never address the larger trend, the reason why Bay and Day felt that way, right? These are the things that we, in my opinion, should be talking about because they happen so often. Go back through Big Brother. How often does this happen with black contestants on the show? How often do black contestants on the show go home early in the first few weeks? If you say, oh no, every single one of those particular instances was justified in its own particular way, then you're really missing out on the bigger picture. And that's what we're talking about when we discuss these scenarios. So this is an example of that. There's a blow up, and the house, luckily, I guess, thankfully, sides with Bay and Day in this one, and they really do see Christmas as the aggressor, and they are very much like, no, on Christmas here.
Well, because she's already got him dead to rights. I don't understand Christmas here. Like this, we can talk about all the semantics and all about he said, she said, and what she meant and what Christmas meant. But at the end of the day, Christmas, you're the HOH. You put two people on the block. They're allowed to feel a little pissed about it. Like, isn't it just that simple? I don't understand why Christmas had to make this all about her. And I was totally with Bay when Bay was like, I am not going to let you play the victim here. I am not going to let you grab the cross. Like, because that is exactly what she tried to do. Christmas wanted to make herself feel better and play the victim because she feels like, as she should feel like, a certain way about putting Bay and Day up on the block after being their friend and not really having a good reason to put them on the block. Other than that, the fact that they're untouchable, which, as I said previously, just means that they're the only two black girls in the house, and that's the reason that she's going to put them up on the block. She feels a certain way about it. She doesn't want to be perceived that way based on her experiences from Big Brother 19. But I will tell you this. I have seen enough from Christmas Joy. This is who she is, because we saw it on Big Brother 19, and we see it again here. She's really an angry person. I don't like her. I think she shouldn't have been brought back on this season. I didn't like her bullying aspects on Big Brother 19, and it looks even worse in Big Brother 22. I think they really made a really bad call to bring her out, and I felt like it was only a matter of time before she did something like this, and I'm just really sad that it happened to Bay and Day because it wasn't a cute look, and she needed to just shut her mouth.
Melissa, what are your thoughts on this big blow up?
I'm like, to be honest, this week has been like just really exhausting and not in like a fun way to watch the feeds. It's like, it's not like sometimes it's like, oh, people are making these game moves or people are getting into fights or whatever. And it's like kind of like thrilling because you're like, what's going to happen? This is crazy, like fun and exciting. But I just feel like this week has been just really disheartening and it's not fun. it doesn't make me excited to go back and watch like the feeds or the episodes or anything. It makes me feel like I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just like reading too much into this, but it's like, are we losing Big Brother? Like, just overall, like this show that we've loved for all these years, is it over? Like, and I'm not trying to be dramatic. Like, I'm being serious. Like, it makes me sad now. And it's like, I feel like there are so many people who feel the same way, that like, it's not fun. It's sad. It's like people getting hurt and bullied and just like and just like we see like the dregs of society essentially. And it's like, we thought that like it was just casting. Like we thought like, okay, well, but they're just casting the wrong people. Like there are some good people, but for the most part, they're just casting the wrong people. That's it. That's got to be what it is. But it's like, this is all stars. These are people that have been throughout the entire like series essentially. And even still, we have the exact same problem. We have the exact same issues with like just the minorities being completely isolated. And then we have like some like, you know, these like bullying tactics. And is it the show? Like, I mean, is it, it makes me want to like, it makes me wonder is it over for the show? Like, is it over? And I don't want that to be the case, because like this has been, I mean, me especially, like I've been watching this show since I was like 10 years old. I literally watched season 1, and like I've been watching literally ever since. And it makes me sad, because I feel like this is something that like, I don't know if this is something that we can come back from. And it's not just this particular situation. It is the entirety of the last like 5 seasons, 6 seasons. Like it's like every season it just gets progressively worse, and like it just solidifies that like it's not going to turn around. And every season we think like, but this season will be different. This is different.
I mean, not as long as they continually cast the same types of personalities and the same racial makeup of the cast. No, I don't think it's going to change. I will say, you know, has the show gotten worse? I don't know, but I will say this. I think we've gotten better. Like we spot more stuff now that we wouldn't have thought was problematic in the past. I know I personally like would like, you know, hoot and holler about stuff that happened in the past. And now like, you know, 8 years removed from it, I'd be like, oh, like that, you know, like I feel worse about how like that taking place, like Dominic in 19 being ostracized from the house. There wasn't really a part of me I mean, obviously the snake thing happened, and then, you know, that's whatever. But besides that, I was totally fine with that at the time. And I look back on that and I'm embarrassed about myself. I'm like, I was fine with that. I didn't say anything about how Dominic was being treated in 19. Like, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Sam. I think my response, Melissa, would be that I don't think that I don't think we're losing the show. I don't think the show is getting worse. I think that we are seeing these things and talking about them more, because they have always existed on Big Brother. In fact, I think that they were much worse before. I think things have gotten better, but we are in the healing process of trying to change these things and point them out and talk about them, which is uncomfortable and painful. But I do think that that's what's happening more so than the show or the people degenerating into even worse, things.
It's just it's so strange to me, because it's like I personally I cannot wrap my head around like going into the house and being like not working with people who don't look like you. I can't imagine going into the house and being like, okay, these people are minorities. I'm not going to work with them. I'm only going to work with these white people. Like, and then let's get out all the minorities one by one, and not think that that's like totally inappropriate and like absolutely not okay. Like, how is everyone who just goes in the house like totally racist? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't mean to like call it out and say that. And I don't think everyone who goes in the house is totally racist, but I'm just saying, like, it's like, how can people not like, I just, it's so,
they always think it's not them.
It's so far from like what I would think would happen.
Oh yeah.
I can't wrap my mind around it.
They always think they're the hero of their own narrative. They think, well, I know what a racist is and I'm not a racist, even though that inside of them they behave like a racist. Like I'll take like my parents, for example. I'll just take my parents because like I feel like I can talk about them, right? So my parents, like they watch something like George Floyd and they say something, you know, terrible, like, you know, well, I know that he didn't deserve to be murdered, Brent, but he was no saint. Like my parents said something like that. My white parents live in Kentucky said something like that. And I don't think that my parents are racist, but they say something like that. And I'm like, oh my God, like, do I even know you right now? So you look at all these people in the Big Brother house and like Cody, for instance, he knows, quote unquote, the way it looks when they have an alliance with all white people and there's no black people and the black people are the next people to go. And he talks about, you know, Day and Kevin and David, and he knows how it looks. He said, oh, but social media is going to have something to say about this. I bet Twitter's going to have something to say about this. But they rationalize it in their head like, well, but I know I'm not racist. That just happens to be the way the game is right now. So it's okay. And it's okay that I didn't have any people of color in my alliance. These are just the people that I vibed with. And I know I'm not racist. So again, it's okay. That's Amon, you know, that's just how they think about it.
That's why I keep saying that Big Brother is not going to fix any of this stuff. All it's going to do is highlight it. This is like, I mean, I feel like a lot of people want to watch Big Brother and see it as like this beacon of hope. And I feel like in a lot of ways it can be. I think, I mean, we're seeing it with Big Brother Canada. In a lot of ways, it can be an instrument of social change, but it's only just one instrument. You know what I mean? And I feel like people don't have to think about it. Like if you grow up in an area where you are, you know, you or like Brent, like if you grow up in Kentucky surrounded by a bunch of other white people,
all white people in my high school class, 187 people, all white.
Right. And then you enter a world that could be a smidge more diverse. You're naturally going to gravitate towards the people that, you know, you see yourself in. And it's horrible when you really start to think about it, when you really start to think about what's happening in your brain, but you naturally are more okay with seeing people that don't look like you kind of like go the other way. Because it's like, oh, well, I mean, I don't like, where's the connection here? That's kind of foreign to me. It's like, I don't really, and I feel like that's what I'm saying. Like we're in the middle of a social push where we're trying to get people to understand that your implicit biases, all of them that get added up, can be very dangerous in the real world. And then we see that in the game as well. That's what we're seeing happen in the game. Yeah. And a lot of people will rationalize it and be like, oh, well, I don't think that I don't feel that in my heart. I'm not saying screw all the POC. I'm not saying screw all the black people. But at the same time, if there's more white people in the house and then all of you just so happen to be in an alliance, maybe there's one black person in that alliance, but it is literally mathematically more likely that white people are going to be in an alliance than it is for the black people to be in that said alliance because of just the makeup of the house. And so when that black person goes the way of the fucking dinosaur, you're like, well, that's not my fault. And it's like, it's not really anybody's singular fault. It's just, it's the way that the cast is set up. It's the way the society is set up, and we are trying our best to rectify that. And it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be easy. And we're going to continue to see the same patterns for a while. It's going to happen in BB23 too. I hate to tell y'all, it's going to happen again. We're going to keep having these conversations for a long time. And I would much rather have the conversations and have the discourse and reach the people that we can, rather than just being like, oh, well, you know, like, well, then them's the breaks. You know what I mean? And the general level of apathy just has to diminish in order for us to like really be able to understand how we can make this better. And I feel like All Stars 2, they were trying to make it better. They tried to bring back a bunch of veterans that know the game, that probably are well aware of what happens on social media in regards to the game, are probably more well equipped. They introduced the implicit bias training. They put 4 black people in the house, 5 POC. They tried. And it's not going to be perfect. It's going to get ugly. People are going to make their mistakes. We're going to call their asses out when they make the mistakes. If people don't want to learn and they want to push back, then that's y'all business. If you're going to come out of this house and act like you are God and you didn't do anything wrong, well, don't know what to tell you. You're going to get dragged. But if you want to learn, then learn.
Yeah, and speaking for myself, I fully disown and do not encourage harassment of any people. That I think that if somebody does something wrong, that it should be called out. They should be held responsible for it, but that does not mean that you should send death threats or harass them or anything like that. That's, again, speaking for myself in that instance. And that is not what this is. You know, we can't ignore the situation. You know, because I think in conversations like these, the extreme ends of things dilute the conversation so much, because if you try to say one thing that is like a little bit over here, then the people over here think that you're way down here. And vice versa. And so it's very difficult to have an actual conversation, but the conversation needs to be had. This is game talk. This is relevant to the show and to the game, and it also happens to be relevant in our everyday life. This is all stuff that impacts the game, and if we pretend that it doesn't, then we're just not looking. So this is something that we should be talking about, and it does not have to connect to anything where, you know, people's lives are being ruined or anything like that. We are talking about things that people should be held accountable for, and things that should hopefully be talked about and discussed and maybe someday improved upon. That's my take.
Yeah, and I feel like I said this earlier today. Just not everybody knows how to talk about it, and I'm not even gonna try and say that's not me trying to say, oh, there are just some really, really dumb people out there that don't deserve to have a spot in the conversation. I feel like everybody deserves a spot in the conversation, but like you just said, I feel like there's this cognitive dissonance, which is like the root of all evil, in my opinion, that it's hard for people that have been experiencing an injustice for so long to like get up to this level without some sort of like, no, because people think that we're here already. And that's not the case. And so when you think that we're here, and then somebody's telling you, no, actually it looks like this, and y'all are trying to both argue your different truths, it's like, nothing ever progresses because we're sitting here trying to argue a different set of facts. And I feel like that happens a lot of the time on Twitter, and it happens a lot of the time when it comes to, like, you know, who was in the wrong on Big Brother and all of this stuff. And I feel like as long as if we can just talk about the bigger picture here, like you just said, and talk about the trends, talk about the patterns, talk about what we continuously see, I feel like we're gonna get better, and we're gonna get to a point where we don't have to have conversations as intense as this. We can come back to the round table and be like, oh, great move, Tyler. Oh, shitty move, Cody. You know what I mean? We can get back to that place. It just might not happen as quickly as people would like for it to. And I don't think that that's wrong. I think that that's part of the process. So,
yeah. All right. Well, I think it's time to get to the state of the house here. Aman, I know you might need to bounce out. Are you bouncing out?
I lost track of time. I gotta go.
Well, thank you so much, Aman, for joining us. I'm really glad that we had you here. You always contribute so much to these discussions.
Thank you guys so much for having me, and hopefully my place in the stock watch doesn't get as low as it already is.
Thanks, Aman. Love you, honey.
Good luck.
Bye.
All right. So
I missed him already.
I know, right?
Right.
Let's go over the state of the house. This is probably going to be a bit of a long show here, but I do think there's a lot of important stuff to talk about in terms of the state of the house before we get into the ratings here, because a lot has shifted with everything that's been happening. The Slick Six is completely done at this point. There are new fake alliances and new relationships and all kinds of new structures to keep track of. So I want to try and run through the alliances first, and then I want to try and go a little more granular on this one. So we still have Cody's crew. He's still kind of running things, and Cody's crew consists of, and this is kind of close to what Kaser was saying when he was, on the way out the door. Cody is basically in the middle of two main groups. He's got triple threat on one side, which is himself, Enzo, and Tyler. And then he's got the love triangle on the other side, I guess, is what Kaser coined them as, and that's Cody, Danny, and Nicole. So Cody is in the middle of Enzo, Tyler on one side, Danny and Nicole on the other side. Now, the Danny and Nicole side consists of 4 Prime, which includes Ian. So you can kind of throw Ian in there, but Ian might still be wanting to take a shot at Cody for all I know. And then you kind of have like the loose pieces, Christmas and Memphis, who are still attached via the committee, but are not really in the core of Cody's power structure, although he does have Memphis as a side piece. So that's Cody's realm. We then have like the outsiders. That's kind of the other side of the house, and that those people consist of Day, Kevin, and David. And also they think that they have Enzo, but they don't. But those are the people outside of Cody's power structure. And so that is like the relationship-wise state of the house right now. But it doesn't really tell the full story because it's really about individual relationships right now. And so I want to go over each person's sort of state here. We have Cody. And I want to, like, the people who have Cody's best interests in mind, the people who are looking out for Cody, would be Enzo, Tyler, Nicole, Danny, and Memphis. 5 people all looking out for Cody, all loyal to Cody. And Cody is targeting Kevin and Ian would probably be his main 2. He would take either of them out if given the opportunity. And feel free to, if you have a point, chime in. Sure. I know this is going to be a long one.
No, go ahead.
Enzo has Cody, Tyler, Day, David, Kevin, and Christmas all looking out for him, wanting to work with him, having his best interests in mind. And Enzo, in my opinion, is targeting Danny, Nicole, and Ian would be the 3 people he's going after because Enzo sees Cody's power structure and wants to cut off his other option. He wants to force Cody into the triple threat and have no other option. That's what Enzo wants. So that's where Enzo stands. Tyler has lost some leverage here in the game, but he still has Enzo, Cody, and Christmas looking out for him, although Cody is kind of like hanging on a thread a little bit. I don't think Cody would go out of his way to help Tyler, but he will want to protect Tyler for now because it's in his best interest to keep his power structure in place.
And don't you think, like, after the events of today and yesterday, that Danny would at least not go after Tyler? She'd be more inclined to work with Tyler?
Yes, but I wouldn't say that she's looking out for him.
Okay.
So I just want to list the people that definitely wouldn't come after him,
all right.
looking out, would try to protect him if they can. And Tyler, I do believe, is targeting Danny and Nicole. If for some reason he's not, Kevin is the only other person that I think he would target. But I really do think he's gunning for Danny in particular, but Nicole as a secondary. Danny is in a spot. I was looking through it. I think it's just Nicole. I don't think there's another person that just strictly has Danny's best interests in mind. She is fully reliant on Nicole. I believe at this point, she's targeting Kevin. Somehow Tyler has convinced her to not come for him. She's confirmed this to Nicole in private. She still talked about like, well, maybe, but she's like seemingly on board to actually not target Tyler, which means she'd be targeting Kevin, maybe David, maybe Memphis if she really wanted to make a move. She has talked about that in the past. So that's where I kind of stand with Danny. Nicole has Cody, Danny, Ian, Day, and Christmas, in my opinion. Day is not like fully on the Nicole train, but I do think that Day would avoid putting Nicole up if given the option, and would try to protect, similar to Ian actually, that she might go after Nicole's structure around her, but they'd want to keep Nicole herself safe, which is kind of Nicole's whole game. So Nicole, I do believe, is targeting Kevin. Kevin, very popular in the target portion of this. We have Ian, who, similar to Danny, pretty much only has Nicole. I don't really see another person who's really looking out for Ian. You kind of have like Kevin and David and Tyler as like very loose connections, but they've all talked about like, nah. And they all think, David and Kevin especially think that Ian is in the core of the power structure, which is not great for Ian. Ian, I actually am not sure who he would target. I think it's still Cody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
that's what I thought too.
He hasn't said anything. Like Ian is somebody posted this meme of the like little blob in a box that's like in the box, and then it like peeks out of the box, and then like something bad happens, it gets back in the box, never again. Like that is Ian in the game right now. Then we have Christmas, who I do think still has people like Tyler, Nicole, Danny, Enzo, and even Memphis to a degree, I think, looking out for her.
Do you think so, though?
I think
feel
so.
like from what I've heard, it seems like Enzo and Danny and Nicole like are not super on board the Christmas train anymore. It seems like they're kind of like trying to distance themselves.
I think they are trying to distance themselves. I think they also have no reason to not have Christmas working with them, if that makes sense. Like, if anything, I think, Danny and Nicole are looking at Christmas and being like, shame on you, Christmas. What a bad decision that you made. And they have dollar signs in their eyes.
Totally. That's what I thought.
Nicole looks at similar, shout out to Tommy and Christy. But when Nicole looks at Christmas, she sees Paul. Right.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Taryn, for real. Like when I saw this happening with Christmas, I was like, first of all, I was going off on her, but then like after I got over my anger, I was like, ah, shit. Like they could keep her in the game for a long time. She's a total goat. Like there's no way she's gonna win at the end. Like, or very unlikely. Melissa, we could be stuck with her for a long time.
I do think you make a good point though, Melissa. I'm listing Nicole and Danny. I do think that they would not go far out of their way to protect Christmas, but I don't think they would ever target her.
I think if somebody else got HOH or something and was like, hey, I think I want to go for Christmas, or I'm going to put Christmas in the block, or Christmas is my target, I think they'll be like, yeah, sure, sounds good to me. I don't think there's any situation where they're like, wait, no, there's got to be someone else. I think they see the issues with Christmas, and so I think that they're more than willing to kind of like give her the little push out the door, just so that they're not having that like stigma around them.
I think that's fair. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna delete Nicole and Danny.
Wow!
From Christmas's
your mind.
List here, because you're right. I think they I don't think they would target her, but I don't think they have her back in the same way that I actually do think Memphis. Like she's one of the few people he actually talks to, and Enzo and Tyler would. I do think that Christmas now, she was targeting Kevin. I think she might be shifting that today after the blow up, but who knows? It's really probably just going to be, what Nicole says. Memphis has Cody. I do think Cody, because Cody knows how valuable Memphis is to him. I think he knows how valuable Memphis is to him. Christmas, I think, will look out for Memphis to a decent degree. And Enzo really likes Memphis and thinks that he's useful in the game. This is not like Memphis has no real long-term allies and relationships that will keep him safe. But in the short term, for sure, I think he has these people watching out for him. Memphis is targeting David still, because he feels like David is coming for him. And so, yes. And I do believe that, I think it's possible that like a Kevin or an Ian would be his other options. He actually has talked about Ian like, maybe we don't need Ian that soon. But I think, if Memphis is HOH, I'd probably guess like Kevin, David, nominations with like Ian as a replacement potential backdoor. So that would be my guess, at least. Then there's Davon, who's got Kevin to a degree, and David to a degree. neither of them are like I think they both want to like work and protect Davon, but like they're just not reliable allies, either of them really. But she's got them to a degree. I think she's targeting at this moment. I'm not entirely sure, but I think like Cody, Tyler, Christmas.
I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't. I'd love to get her in a room and listen to her on camera, which she occasionally does. I have no freaking clue.
She'll change her mind.
Yeah.
You know, every day until Thursday. So.
No freaking clue. She'd be the most interesting HOH, I feel like.
Yeah. Kevin, I think, again, to a degree, has Day and David. And I think he's also targeting people like Cody, Tyler, Nicole. I think he will probably leave Tyler out of it because he doesn't feel like he's in the core. I think it'll probably be something closer to Cody and Nicole, but Tyler would be in there as an option. I think he would leave Danny out of it for now, at least. And then there's David, who I couldn't even list Day and Kevin for David because I don't think either of them would stick their necks out at all for David. So I put nobody for David because I don't think he's even got Tyler anymore. So he's a little bit lonely. I think he's targeting Cody, Nicole, Danny, and Ian because actually that's his new theory is that 4 Prime is the group running the house. They're the core. That's his new theory, and he wants to target those people. You know, David, I talked about this a little bit. David, the worst thing that could have happened in David's game is that he was told that he had the right read in Big Brother 21, and now he just does not doubt anything that he thinks up in his mind. And so like he saw 4 Prime together and he was like, I solved it. I know everything. And now he's like very dedicated to this idea. So that's where I see the state of the house. That's where we're at. And I think we've got a pretty interesting situation moving forward. A lot of people targeting Kevin, some people targeting Danny, some people targeting Cody, some people trying to target Nicole. You know, a couple possible Tylers in there, some Ians. Similar to last week, there's a lot of different ways that this next week can go, although I do think Kevin is the most common denominator.
Yeah, also, Danny's telling Nicole right now that she wants to target Tyler. And
back on the Tyler train.
Backdoor him, but they don't think they'll have the votes to get him out. So they're a little worried.
Would they have the votes to get him out? Who did they talk about who they'd put him up next to? If it's a backdoor, they'd probably put up like David and Kevin and then backdoor Tyler. Tyler against Kevin. I don't know if they have the votes.
Yeah,
I think they're right.
They do either, unless they put up someone that they know people aren't going to want to vote out. Maybe I don't know.
So if they did it next week, then
they need 4 votes to break a tie.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Taryn. I'm like, they only need 4.
Yeah, Danny's saying that she'll tell Cody that if he doesn't vote Tyler out, that he's lost the game, and that like Danny
Cody's not going to take that well. And they're probably going to rely on a Christmas vote, which they won't have.
No.
So, and she can also block a backdoor.
Yeah, I think that was also like part of the big blow up. I also think I meant to say this earlier was that like Christmas couldn't explain what happened by saying like she could have done this, but she couldn't because she's working with him. But she could have said, I guess the big missing piece was that her and Tyler, in her mind, have a final 2. So like she wouldn't want to get rid of him, and that would be a bad move for her. But I feel like that was something that she could not say to Davon and Bailey as to like why she didn't do it, because they're like, I don't understand, you've been given this gift, like, or whatever, you know, put Tyler on the block, what is wrong with you? And she had to just say like, no, I'm not gonna, it's, you know, if he wants to go out, he'll go out on his own. It's not going to be from me. Like, I'm not going to be the one to like have to, you know, do that for him or whatever. And it like, I feel like the whole thing could have been explained away with like, no, Tyler and I have a final 2. I'm not putting him on the block. Like, that's why I didn't put him on the block. But instead she like couldn't say that. So like it ended up being a situation where like Bailey and Davon were like, I really don't understand why you wouldn't just like put him up. Was this a whole like plot to like make us look bad or look stupid or whatever? And Christmas is like, you know, thinking that they're like not understanding that she has other reasons.
Yeah. I think that is part of the problem here, that Christmas, her reason is not true. But she's like, her logic is sound, and I've seen people say that her logic is sound, from her perspective, especially. You know, game is separate from personal. You had personal conversations with me. You had game conversations with me. The game conversation is the reason I'm targeting you, but that's not the reason she's targeting her, and it's not the reason she didn't put Tyler on the block. It's fake, and she feels like I've made a logically sound argument based on false information, and there's not a it doesn't connect all the way. But she feels like, no, you have to accept this argument, even though it doesn't fully make all the sense, right?
Right. It's like if she could just, if it didn't matter like for the game or anything, and she could just tell Davon and Bailey, like, yeah, I'm not gonna backdoor Tyler because he's my ally. Like, he's my number one ally. Like, I'm not gonna do that. Then they would be like, oh, okay, that makes sense why you wouldn't put him on the block. But like, it turned into this whole convoluted thing about like, well, you gave me personal information or whatever, and it's like it just turned into this argument where like Christmas wasn't even arguing her true points, and they were like, no, that doesn't make any sense. And
in fairness, though, Day wasn't doing a great job of explaining it either. Like, she was trying to like play semantic games about like, you know, this is game information, this is personal game information. Yeah, which they went on and on about, which there is no such thing. I mean, if it's personal game information, it is by definition game information.
It is a really dumb term.
It really is.
Well, the whole thing was so stupid. It's like, that was game information. Like, I mean, it's as if, okay, so like, for example, like say someone says, I have a daughter on the outside and like, I miss her or whatever. And that is personal information. But then that person takes that information because they're in the house playing a game and says like, well, you know, I'm going to put you on the block because you said you missed your daughter and you want to go home. You should probably go home to be with your daughter. So I'm putting you on the block for that. It's like, yeah, that's personal information, but it's like, that's also game information. Like, all information in the house can be used for game, especially like if it's something that none of it made any sense to me. That
Christmas just like Melissa, Christmas
personal...
wouldn't own her shit. She wouldn't own her shit because she's so afraid of being betrayed, as she was on Big Brother 19. She wouldn't just own her shit and say, you know what, I betrayed you. You're right. You trusted me. I betrayed you. I used information that you gave to me, and I put you on the block. I'm sorry. Like, that's all she had to do. Just live in her shit and own it. If she did that, none of that would have happened yesterday. But she couldn't do it. She had to be the victim.
Also, like, I thought, okay, so part of Christmas's argument is like, we never had a set like working relationship together. Like, Bailey and I and like Davon, like, we never had any actual like set working game relationship. No alliance, no nothing. But it's like, didn't Christmas think that like, oh, I have Bailey? Like, didn't she think that her and Bailey had like a sort of like understanding? Like, yeah, sure, it's like you can play semantics and say like, well, we didn't actually like solidify an alliance, we didn't like name it, we didn't like, you know, whatever, but they were basically working together. Like, and Christmas wants to argue that this is not a betrayal. Like, this is a betrayal. And even if like, it's like, it's also one of those things where it's like, why are you even arguing whether it's a betrayal or not? If somebody feels betrayed, like, you could say like, okay, well then, like, sorry that this happened, you got betrayed by me, okay? Yeah. Like, that's
their
fine.
Feelings are
now
valid.
You're on the block.
Exactly.
Yeah, like, now you're on the block. Okay, I didn't think of our relationship as something that I needed to care about, and so like, that's why I'm sending you home. Like, it just, she kept saying like, well, I didn't betray you. It's like, okay, well, she feels betrayed by you.
She doesn't want to feel like the bad guy. She can't own it. That's the thing.
Which is bad because it's like, she just made it so much worse for herself. I feel like if she had just put them on the block and been like, look, like, this is what I'm doing, this is best for my game, you guys might not understand it, but like, this is it.
And I can't tell you everything. I can't tell you that I'm actually doing this for the alliance.
I can't tell you everything behind it. This is just like a game move. Sorry, like, you know, fight for the veto. And then had that be the end of it, that would have been fine. But it's like, she wanted to make sure that like the people that she put on the block were like happy to her.
Right?
Oh
like, my
they're
God.
They're not gonna be happy to you. They're literally gonna be angry with you. Like that, and justifiably so.
Yeah, it's like after the funeral, Dan Giesling did not go to Brittany and be like, why are you being so mean to me? What did I do
Right.
to you? I did what I had to do. Why are you being so mean? Like, he just sat there and took it.
He took
'Cause
it.
he did what he had to do, and he also upset Brittany, and she's upset right now, and she should be allowed to be upset. And he didn't sit there saying, listen, Brittany, you're allowed to be upset. It's perfectly valid, but stop being mean to me.
It's like, just say like, look, I'm sorry. This was pure game. Like, I'm sorry. Like, whatever. Just like, it's one of those things where it's like, just apologize and just say like, this is a game and I'm sorry. Like, it doesn't make sense to you. Maybe that like I had to do this for my game.
Melissa,
I'm sorry.
did you see the little video clip going around of Tyler saying, hey, don't worry about it, but it's never too late for an apology.
Oh yeah, and she's like,
her look was like, her look was like this most
she's not
sour
happy
look
about
ever.
that. Because I think she was
yeah.
thinking that I feel like from her perspective, she probably was like, look, I did this for you, Tyler. Like, I'm in this like mess because of you. You made it seem like you were gonna like, put yourself up and then whatever. And now I'm in this because of you, and we're in this together. And instead, he's like, well, you can apologize. It's like, okay. I loved when Tyler said that.
All right, let's get into the stock watch here. Let's get into it because there's going to be some major shifting, I think, here.
I feel like this is also really hard because I feel like a few days ago I might have rated people something way different than I'm rating them now.
Oh, really?
Like, whether it went like up or down.
A few days ago, huh?
Up or down or down or up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Melissa, he's making a joke about last week when he gave Lavina the scores 2 days ahead of time. That's what he's making a joke about.
Oh, well, yeah. First of all, I gave it 1 day ahead of time, but whatever.
Okay, so that was fake news then. Okay.
All right. Let's get into the stock watch. Let's start here in beautiful alphabetical order with Bailey. Bailey here, who last week was a 5. We, at this time last week, thought Bailey's in some trouble. She will be nominated next to Devon in a lot of situations, but she's the more likely person to survive. And if she does, then she might be in a good spot. But being nominated next to somebody is always a dangerous position, and we are learning why. Bailey is at this moment looking like the person who will go home this week. I also do not love the way that she's played the week, mainly because she's giving people permission to vote her out. And she's campaigning, but it's hollow. She's not really, she's sitting Ian down, and she's not like, because you know when Bailey's trying. She puts on the smile. She's very polite. She's sitting Ian down, and she's like, so can you vote for me? What do you think? And he's like, I'm like 60-40 for Day right now. She's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's like her heart is not in this. She wants to go back to Swaggy. Swaggy wants her to come back to him. There's a beautiful Tesla waiting, and that's not great. All that said, I don't think it's fully locked in at this point. So I have Bailey here at a 2 for myself.
I do
Brent?
as well. I have her at a 2. I think that some of the things that she said this week really make me scratch my head. Now, look, I know that she's always been of the opinion. She's always said this season, I'm here to push Devon forward. That's what I'm here for. I'm going to push Devon forward. So, like, I think she then naturally followed through with that, with saying, okay, it's okay that you can vote against me. Tyler, I give you permission to vote against me. But then now she's kind of trying to have her cake and eat it too, where she's trying to campaign. I saw Beverly in the chat saying that she's campaigning her ass off. What show are you watching? That is not even true. She's not campaigning her ass off. She's a lot better than this, but she's trying to go about it in a way where it doesn't piss off Devon, which I guess so far she's succeeding at that. But it's really hard to campaign your ass off and not piss off the other person. Like, if you're campaigning your ass off, you're going to piss off the other person, because by campaigning your ass off, it means that you're probably making some headway. You're probably putting your heart into it, which is going to piss them off. So, the fact that she's not probably going to stay indicates to me that she's not campaigning very hard, which means it's a 2.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. It's unfortunate, but I do feel like even in the situation where Tyler puts himself on the block, I think she might have gone home even in that scenario. So I think that this has not been a great week for her. And I think you know, I felt like she handled herself really well. Same with Davon in the conflict last night. But I just think that like the odds of her staying are so slim that I have to give her a 2.
All right. The audience gave Bailey a 3. They felt a little bit better.
I mean, I
about
was
Bailey.
vacillating between a 2 and a 3. So
By the way, since we're talking about Bailey real quickly, I just wanted to mention this because this gave me flashbacks. For those of you who don't know, I also cover Sequester, the live version with Taryn, and we had looked at season 2, and Jesse and Hamza from Big Brother Canada were on season 2 of Sequester. And even though like they were working together in Big Brother Canada, like you always felt like, you know, they had bad blood together from, you know, Hamza originally evicting Jesse on his season. And how long was that gonna last? And eventually, you know, they turned against each other. Jesse turns against Hamza. It obviously was a game-ending move by his part, but at least he got one over on Hamza. He got him out of the house. I now empathize with that a lot more watching what's happening with Bailey on this season, because she knew that Tyler was a really good game player. He was the golden child of their season. She didn't want to get bamboozled by him again like she did on 20. And she thought that she had it under control. And now, even though, like, you know, she doesn't have all the details right, Tyler wasn't that against her.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that she thinks thinks she's in that spot.
She
that
thinks
I should
she's
have
been
known.
hacked.
Yeah,
exactly. Which is
it's
really
like,
frustrating.
It's like, no, it was Danny.
Yeah, it was Danny, and also too, like Day's giving her wrong information. Like Tyler was talking with Day yesterday and was saying like, you know, like I can't remember how he worded it, but basically got back to Bay. And now Bay thinks like, oh well, he now he can reset because I'm not in the house.
He was
but
saying
that's not how he meant it at all.
He was saying that now that he's stuck here with jury happening, it's time to reset.
The retell from Day was like so terrible.
Day was like, he said, now that Bailey's leaving, it's time to reset, and Bailey was like, I knew it.
He said he can't wait to get you out. That's basically the way she said. I mean, she didn't say that, but like it was like such a bad retell. Day, like, what are you doing?
All right. Well, that's a big crash already for Bailey. If you bought any Bailey, 5 down to a 2. It's not quite the, I think, 8 to a 3 or whatever it was in her original season, but it is a crash here. Then we have Christmas. Christmas up next. Melissa, why don't we start with you here on Christmas?
You gave her a 4 last week, Christmas. How you feeling now?
Yeah, I feel much worse than that. So, yikes. I mean, I think it's a situation where, like, yes, she's probably going to stay in the game a lot longer than we would hope, but she's not going to win. I mean, there's no way. I mean, unless something insane happens.
Unlikely, at least.
Like, I mean,
she's
it's just
done
like,
damage.
Yeah, it's like she's done way too much damage to her game to like be like an option, really. I mean, at least in my opinion. I also think that she's had a really bad week. I mean, Bailey was one of the people who really trusted Christmas and wanted to work with her, and she's literally sending out an ally. It's bad. And I feel like it also is shown to the people that she was working with, maybe except for Memphis because he was asleep, but it showed them that she is volatile and unpredictable, and that like she is maybe not the person you want to be working with or the person you want to be seen with even optically. I feel like people are going to be like, oh, that's not something I want to be around. So she's not leaving the game. So I'm not going to give her a 1, but I'm going to give her a 2.
Wow.
All right.
Brent.
Yes. Look, I also gave so the scores from last week were Taryn and the audience gave Christmas a 6, and Brent and Melissa gave Christmas a 4. And I feel like me and Melissa had it right on this one, honey, because like I think that it was only a matter of time before she showed how bad of a game player she is. She's got a volatile temper. Like, remember, this is the same white woman who got on the cast of Big Brother All-Stars after not so much as 18 months ago being charged with committing a violent felony by going after this woman who was like apparently sleeping with her baby daddy person, like that she's having stuff with. The point being, like, she couldn't control her temper then, and she can't control her temper now. I agree with Melissa. I think she's done great damage to herself this week in the house. Maybe she's secured a place in some people's eyes in the final 2 chairs, but I think that she's been shown to be a really horrible person. So I'm also going to give her a 2. I do not like the way she's positioned in the house, and I really don't like the efforts that she's made on behalf of actually, winning the game. And also, Melissa's right. Not only Bailey, but also Davon were people that trusted Christmas. Why did she make this move? There were other like half moves she could have made if she wanted to just like, get through an HOH week and not really do anything. She's basically making this move for other people in her alliance, not really for herself. So I as far as this week goes, it's a 2.
Well, I am a bit different here for Christmas. I think the biggest shot from from what happened last night is that her chances in the jury are considerably lower, and I think that was always her biggest hurdle, that she needed to win respect to win a jury vote, and I think that she took some major hits with that, especially with the entire house not agreeing with her position. That said, she is still well positioned. I don't think anybody's really gunning for her anytime soon. I'm not sure that even Day would go straight for Christmas. People might try to make her, but I think that would just make her even more suspicious and want to go after those people. So I think she's going to be here for a while. I also think she's going to win a lot of competitions. She already has a power. She's with Tyler, who also pissed off some people this week. She could have been the recipient of a bitter jury in 19. I think it's definitely possible that it happens in 22. So I gave her a 5.
You don't think it's concerning that Bailey is someone who wanted to work with Christmas, who was giving her information, who was interested in her, and now she's like literally getting rid of an ally.
Well, see, I actually don't disagree strategically with the move all that much. Christmas was allied with almost everybody in the house, that she had to choose somebody to cut, and she chose Bay and Day, who were people that the rest of the house would support in cutting. So for playing the kind of game that Christmas is, this is kind of the move. You cut people that the rest of the house will agree with. If you cut somebody that is already your friend, and the rest of the house is going to be mad at you for doing it, or some of the house will be mad at you for doing it, then that's a really bad move. But she made this move, and until the blow up last night, even Bay and Day were not saying that they were going to go for Christmas. In fact, they made an alliance with Christmas.
Yeah, I remember.
So the move itself to target Bay actually, I think, really worked out in her favor.
But why not backdoor somebody? Like, I just feel like
because why would she? Why would she when she's in such a good position?
I just think that. I think that she's in a good position for this minute, but I think that moving forward in the game, I don't think she's in a good position at all. I don't think she has any ability to win.
I think that
I don't think anyone is thinking of her as like a number one, or everyone else has number ones, but I don't think that she has anyone who considers her a number one.
I don't know. I think that Christmas thinks that she's got it all figured out. I think Christmas thinks that she's in the alliance that's controlling the house. I think Christmas thinks that she's on the inside of that alliance with like Tyler. So I think she thinks like, dude, I'm set. I'm golden. Like, I'm controlling everything. But obviously we know she's not.
Yeah, and I feel like the logic of like, why didn't she make a bigger move, or why didn't she backdoor someone? Why is she taking out somebody that wouldn't come after her? It's the same logic that was used, I think, on Enzo last week, and I was arguing that Enzo made the right move last week, and look at Enzo this week, right? Like, he's in a fantastic spot. So I think that, again, I think the move itself was great. She was coming out of this HOH in a really good spot. She still had Tyler. She was still good with Day, who was in an all-women's alliance with her. She was still insulated with Enzo and Memphis. Nobody was looking at her to target her. She had a relatively respectable HOH reign. I think the big thing that screwed her up, the reason I didn't go for like a 6 or a 7, right, is the big argument that happened last night, which ruined some of her relationships with people like Danny and Nicole to a degree. It ruined the respect that she was garnering from the house, and ruined her relationship with Davon, which in turn helped ruin this all-women's alliance that she was trying to create. So her options are a lot more limited now than they were before. But I think the move itself was actually pretty sound. And it's not like I'm giving her a 6 or 7. I'm giving her a 5, which, is...
Yeah.
I think
So
her limit.
go ahead
here.
and reveal the audience score, and then I want to say something really quickly.
The audience gave her a 4.
All right. So the audience gave her a 4. I see some people in the chat who are not happy with me and Melissa because we gave 2s to Christmas. And obviously some of those people probably bought some Christmas stock. Let me tell you this. A lot about playing the stock watch is predicting how all 3 panelists and the audience, that also comes into it, are going to rate the house guests. Like Taryn talks about this. If you watch his Twitch stream when he's giving out advice on what to do and how to buy stocks, he will flat out talk about this. Like, okay, so this is Tyler, right? So like, I don't know if Brent's ever going to go up to a 9 on Tyler. Like, he'll talk about the fact that we all have our own likes and dislikes that comes into play. Like there's like, if you want to play the stock watch and have some fun, and again, this is only for fun, there's not actual money on the line here. Like you've got to understand that me and Melissa and Taryn occasionally we just get in our feelings about shit. And you know what? I totally own that. That's how I feel right now about Christmas. And you know what? I got the paddle so I can do whatever the hell I want. Sorry about it.
All right.
Yeah. I'm getting very frustrated because I just feel like I'm not just basing this on emotion. I do think that Christmas made a bad move this week. I don't think she's in a good position. I think moving forward, there's no way she's going to win this game. I really do believe that. So I can't sit there and be like, well, she might make it far and then who knows what's going to happen. So I'm going to give her a great score. It's like, no, I don't think she's going to win. Number one. And number two, I think that she's in a bad position. I think she's put herself in a bad position. She's playing with the house. Basically, she's playing the Big Brother 19 game where maybe, she will get far, but she's not going to win. And I think that
she still thinks it is.
The other thing is that she's expendable. Everybody in her alliance isn't thinking of her as like, okay, we got to keep Christmas in. It's like, she's an easy out where people could be like, she just caused this whole blowout. She doesn't have anyone who's really on her side. So like, let's just get her out now. Like, I absolutely see that as a situation. So I'm not sitting there being like, well, I didn't really like that fight this week, so I'm going to give her a low score. No, like, I honestly think she's a bad player this week. Like, that's the truth. And I even put at the beginning of this week when she was winning all these things, I even tweeted that, like, are we going to have to start giving Christmas, like, respect now? Because, like, she is doing pretty well. Now I don't think she's doing really well. So there you go.
Preach.
I love this, Melissa.
Yes.
I love, and I like, look, I think Melissa makes some great points. I don't personally agree with them, but I think she makes some very valid points. And I don't think that you can say that Melissa's just basing this on emotion. You just heard her case.
Obviously not. Yeah. We stated our case and gave you guys the evidence. It's just you guys don't like the evidence that we're giving. You are overlooking the evidence in favor of her position in the game, and I understand where you're coming from. Oftentimes, position will win out, but the problem is that like the stock watch is all about winning the game, and Melissa and I are just of the opinion that like she's done massive damage to her chance of actually winning the $500,000 this week, and the fact that we don't agree with the move to get Bailey out of the game.
Yeah, so I think especially the jury argument is a very compelling one. It's just me personally, I feel like it's a little early for myself to make that call, but you guys could be right. You guys could be taking the earlier shot on this, And
here's the thing. It's not a situation where like, okay, if you rate them down, you can't then rate them up again. It's not like there's a ceiling or something. Like, it's not like now Brent and I can't go higher than a 2. So, she might play a great game next week. Like, she literally might turn everything around and have a bunch of allies and do really well and use her power and all that sort of stuff. Like, maybe we will turn it around. But this week, we're rating week to week, This week, I don't think she did a really good job with her.
Yeah, what did she do this week? Did she help her cause this week, or is she hurting her cause this week to win the game?
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Cody. Let's talk about where Cody is. Brent, how do you feel about Cody this week?
I feel really good about Cody. I do. I will disclose right out of the gate that I gave him a 7. I would like to give him an 8. However, I do feel like there are people around him who don't have his own, I'll put it this way. It's not that they don't have Cody's best interest at heart. They do. It's that they are nervous that Cody might get too much control of the game. Tyler, Enzo, some people that have real power in the game right now are concerned about that. And Cody, despite his best efforts, has not been able to dissuade him from that. Now, there may be some mistakes made by some people in the house this week moving forward into Thursday, and maybe Enzo, Tyler, and anybody else who's going after Danny can be dissuaded from targeting Danny, who is a valuable piece for Cody in the game right now. Cody and Danny really have an interesting chemistry. Like, honestly, I don't think I've ever said this before on the podcast, but I'll say it. Watching them together there's such an energy about them that if they didn't have like significant others themselves, I think they totally would like look at each other as potential others, because there's an undeniable attraction there. In some way, they just vibe with each other, they get each other. So the fact that Danny is currently being targeted by some people who have a lot of power in the game is not good for Cody. Aside from that, nobody's directly coming after Cody except for Ian. Like maybe Ian might go after Cody. Maybe somebody else could look at a backdoor of Cody, like David, if he goes after those 4 people and somehow Cody ends up as the backdoor target. But I think a lot of people really enjoy Cody, and he doesn't cause any drama in the house, that I feel like that he might even then have a chance to stay. So yeah, I feel like he gets a good score, but not a fantastic score for me this week. It's a 7.
All right, Melissa.
I feel like I feel like he's in a good position this week. I mean, I think that like all the people who were possibly coming after him, or all the danger that I was feeling for him, like I don't know if I'm really feeling that for him right now. I feel like now people are like, okay, well, there's other targets. Like now people are talking about Tyler, or they're talking about putting up Nicole and Danny together. And even Ian, like I felt like, okay, Ian's gonna like pull something together and get Cody, and now it's kind of like, well, Ian's really a non-entity right now, so like Ian might even get taken out next week, and I don't even know if he's going for Cody. I don't even know if he's like gung-ho against him. So I think Cody's really insulated as well, and I think he's also done a really good job with all this conflict going on. I feel like he's kind of like kept the kind of like, hey everyone, I'm on everybody's side kind of thing going on. So I don't feel like he's in worse position. I also don't feel like he's in really a much better position. So I'm just going to stick with my 8.
Okay, cool. By the way, so I'll call out this shit. So Hammerheads in the chat says Ian, David, Kevin, and Davon might all target Cody. Other than that, he's in the best position in the house. So now, look, here's the thing. I know that there are a few people who might target Cody, but 2 things. Number 1, I still think Cody's at the bottom of those lists. I think that in all those situations, Cody would be a backdoor target for some of those people. So it's gonna take some doing to get him up on the block. Also, the fact that Cody, I think, could survive a vote against many people that he would be placed on the block against. All of those
like
things.
Who would he be voted out? I just feel like I don't see a situation where Cody gets voted out, even if he's on the block.
And then you're really going to tell me that if Kevin wins HOH, that his scaredy cat ass is going to target Cody? No way. I swear to God.
I will be so impressed.
He'll put up Ian and somebody else. Kevin is such a scaredy cat. He will not play Big Brother. You saw him in that knockout competition. She was like, pick somebody to go next, and he was like, oh, and he knew he wanted to pick. He knew he wanted to pick Cody and Nicole, but Julie had to basically drag it out of him. Do you really think he's going to win HOH?
Yeah, he did do it. Maybe he'll be like, oh God, this nomination
I
ceremony.
can't stand him.
I'll just turn the key.
He's the thing that Dan Giesling just hates in the game. Like, he won't own it. Just own it.
If he pulls it off, gets HOH, like puts Cody up on the block, like,
yeah,
my God.
I'll look at him much better now.
Oh yeah, for sure. Can you imagine?
I would love it. Yes.
That'd be so great.
Yeah.
Well, I also feel good about Cody. I gave him a 7 last week. This week, I'm going to give him an 8. I think last week he was put in a corner by Tyler, and that corner turned out to be, he was right to be worried. He got pushed back into that corner, and he talked his way out of it. And Danny's cool with him again. And he managed to escape that corner. Tyler screwed himself up. And now Cody is back in the driver's seat. Honestly, the only reason I don't give him a 9 right now is because he has people who might put him on the block next week. And as Brent said, I think he has a lot of outs to survive the block next week, but not that many. And I could see him going home next week, which is a rough spot for an 8 to be in. But I think he has a lot of opportunities to not be sent home. And if he isn't, then again, I think that he will help. He will be able to really solidify this group that he has, and will continue to ride off into the sunset that is his victory here. So it's an 8 from me. It is a 7 from the audience for Cody once again. So
L in the chat says that Cody he has a good wall yeller strategy.
and that's the thing too. Something that you need to consider about Cody is not only was he put into a corner by Tyler, he was put into a corner by a wall yeller and is pretty clean, which is pretty impressive play in my opinion.
If I was in the house and Cody started yelling the minute the wall yellers started yelling, I would be very suspicious of him, especially after what already happened.
Well,
Clearly
I mean,
there's
yeah.
something to hide.
Yeah.
Well, like, how
something
much
in his
more
game.
suspicious of him can you be, though? When the first one is about him, obviously he's gonna yell during the second one.
Yeah, I know. Just like I'm like, okay, like maybe that first thing wasn't true. I don't know if I believe the whole Cody, how true is that Cody Nicole thing that they're running the season or whatever. But then when he starts yelling again, I'm like, I think you cannot be questioning that anymore.
I mean, I like, even if it wasn't true, I think he would still yell during a second one because, like, oh, people are further trying to ruin my game. Like, it didn't work the first time, and now they're saying more lies, and you don't hear what it said. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, let's talk about Davon.
Okay.
How is Davon doing here? Wow, there's some close votes from the audience. I can tell you that the audience, I'll do a quick refresh here. You can still cast your votes. The survey is on Twitter at Armstrong
you still
Taryn.
cast your votes. Oh my God.
It actually went in the direction to further solidify this rating. The audience went with a 4 for Davon. I actually went with a 3 on Davon. I feel like she is on the block. I think there's a chance that she could still go home this week. I think the fact that Nicole and Danny are like actively wanting Day to stay and campaigning for her is actually potentially bad for her. I think that David is pushing pretty hard to try and save Bailey, which by itself would not mean much. But he has the backing of Enzo, who, as we know, is very well connected. And then I feel like there's still some outs where this vote could flip. That if Cody or somebody else decided that, hey, you know what? I don't want Day in because I don't want her to be used by Nicole and Danny. That they could easily decide to flip this vote and keep Bailey in and think that, oh, well, Bailey will just be a big target still. If we keep Day, then Day will slide back into the background and be used by Nicole and Danny, and that's not what we want. So I do think there's still a possibility here that Day goes home, though I don't think it's super likely. On top of that, even if she does stay, she doesn't really have many options. Again, she's relying on Nicole and Danny in the power structure, and she's relying on Kevin and David outside of the power structure, and that's all 4 of those people are not good allies to have. So I don't love her position, and I'm not sure where she goes from here. Brent, what do you think?
I agreed with the audience. I gave her a 4. I for some reason I feel a little bit better about Day's game. Like I know that she's not in a great position, and I don't know where she goes from here. But I really do think now, assuming that Bailey gets eliminated, and again, there's a chance that Day herself could go home here. But assuming Bailey goes home, I don't think that people are going to come for Day soon. And Christmas can't be HOH in back-to-back weeks unless obviously Danny plays that stupid power, which she's not going to do. So Christmas can't be HOH next week. So there's going to be a whole week for them to heal. Maybe they can get over it. You can only have that so much negative energy in the house for an extended period of time. Like you have to nip it in the bud, or it just makes you feel awful. So I'm sure at some point Day and Christmas will come together and try to move past what happened. Who knows if that might take. So I give her 4. I feel like that she's still a viable presence to win the game. As far as actually getting to the end, like once anybody makes a move against their alliance, meaning a non-David / Kevin / Ian nominees, like if anything is like in the Danny, Nicole, Memphis, Cody territory, it's going to force people to reveal things and campaign and vote in ways that maybe they would have otherwise preferred not to do. That's why Cody's pushing so hard for them to target the outsiders, so they don't have to show their cards in regards to who they're actually loyal to within the alliance. So if that happens, I really do think that she's going to be there to pick up the pieces. It's 4.
Yeah, this one's a hard one for me just because I feel like there are pros and cons, or like there are positives and negatives. Like, there's the fact that she might be leaving this week. Like we don't really know yet. Anything could happen, which, kind of takes her score down. But then at the same time, I do feel like with Bailey gone, if Davon does stay and Bailey leaves, I do feel like there might be more of an in for Davon with certain people, just because she won't be seen as a pair anymore, and it won't be this big threat. I also feel like, that fight was not great for her, and I do think that now, like, she has an enemy in Christmas. At the same time, I do feel like she came out ahead in that fight, and I felt like the house is kind of rallying around her. And the fact that it does seem like Nicole and Danny are interested in working with her, but at the same time, like, are Nicole and Danny really interested in working with her? Like, we don't really know. So I just, it's hard for me because it could go really either way. So I guess I think I'm going to give her a 3, just because I want to give her a 4, but I don't think she's in the same position she was last week. So I do think it's lower.
All right, let's talk about David. Brent,
Yes.
how are you feeling about David this week?
So I'm putting away the paddle in regards to David. I have listened to him. He has slowly learned a little bit about the Big Brother game. Now, to be clear, his reads are definitely off. He doesn't understand. Like, I think Taryn is so right about this. The fact
he's
that,
he's like 3 weeks behind. He just caught on to the 4 Prime alliance.
Yeah. So like he thinks that he's golden when it comes to reads, and that's, like, of course, the worst thing in regards to him. Like, that's the one thing he knows is, like, why was I brought back? I was brought back because my reads are golden. But they're terrible. But he thinks that they're amazing. But he's trying, and he's actually, his communicating. This sounds so condescending, but, like, it was terrible before. But, like, he's really much better at it now. Like, he's actually having substantive Big Brother talks with people and seems to get what they're looking for now. He's not perfect, and he's not, I wouldn't even call him good, but he's okay. He's at least serviceable. He's like what Ian would call, like, replacement level, right? Replacement level minus, probably. All right. Add to that the fact that he has a power that is probably the best of the 3 powers, ironically. That's when they're not rigging the game, because David got the freaking power. I mean, are you serious? He hasn't even been in the show except for the 1 week that he was on the block. I was dumbfounded by that, but he won it, and so he's got that, and he's keeping it a secret. He's not even telling Tyler, which, again, I'll give him props for. I didn't think he had it in him to not tell Tyler, and then he's keeping it a secret. So I like David a little bit better. It was just sort of like, okay, am I going to give him a 2 or am I going to give him a 3? I'm going to give him. I wrote down 2. I'm going to give him a 2. I want to see more. Every week that he continues to show me that he can play the Big Brother game, I'm going to continue to go up on him.
All right. Yes, I gave him a 1 last week, not because I think he had no chance to win the game, but because his play that week was so bad that it required a 1 from me, and that's why I gave him. So really, position wise, I've always had him at a 2. That I feel like he's very bad, but has a small chance to win the game. This week, I feel like he has not played that poorly, and his position has increased. So I'm giving him a 3 this week. I feel like the thing that I like about David's game now is that because he has this power, I think he's being more proactive. He's going around, he's trying to communicate to people, he's trying to talk to people, he's trying to get people riled up and stuff, and that can be good. It could also be bad. It might backfire on him, but the good thing is I almost want it to backfire on him, because I think it's better for David that this power gets used. And if that means he needs to be nominated in order to use it, so be it. If that means that he waits until the 3rd week and then he uses it on whoever because he can, I mean, it has to have some purpose, right? So it's going to be hard for him to find a purpose. I want him to use this power, because wielding power in the game gets you respect.
Yes.
And that's what he needs in the game. And if he just holds on to this and then at the end of the game he's like, I also had a power and I never used it. It's like, so that's just another thing you didn't do.
Yeah,
So I
exactly.
want him to do something with this power. I want him to win competitions. I want him to ruin someone's plans. I don't want him to continue to just slide along because I don't think that's enough unless he gets there with like Christmas. So I want this stuff to be happening, and that's why I like that he's being more proactive. But yes, I wanted to again specify he can't just randomly use it. He can't just be like, all right, I'm saving Danny from the block because I needed to use it. Like it needs to actually have a purpose, I think, to really improve his standing in any way.
We've talked about this. For those of you who are new to the Roundtable, we've talked about this before. Like even on like Big Brother Canada or even like Big Brothers of the past in USA, like these twists that these powers that come into the game, like even though like sometimes the house guests don't even do anything to win them, they're like awarded them by America or something. But the fact that they use them in the game, like the house guests give credibility to that, as in you impacted the game, even though you really did nothing to get it. So the fact that this is even better, like David actually earned the power, and then he's gonna, if he goes and uses it, it's gonna definitely get him credibility in the game.
Yep. Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think this power has given him, more ability in this game. I guess more like the feeling that he can actually maybe do something and maybe more confidence, which I think is good. But yeah, I still think he's not in a great position. I still think that he could be an easy target. Like if somebody wins HOH and it's just like, okay, well, who's not working with us? Who can we get out that no one really care about? Oh, okay,
Right.
David. Let's put up David and Kevin. Okay, whatever. Kevin won the veto. David, you're out. Whatever. I just feel I see a situation as soon as next week when David can have troubles. So, I mean, obviously the power is helpful, but I just mean like I don't think he's in a great position. So yeah, I do feel better though because he has that power. So I'm gonna give him a 3.
All right, the audience agrees with us on this one, Melissa. They gave him a 3 as well. So there it is for David, a 3 overall, up from his 2. He's back on the rise, David. Let's talk Danny. Danny is in an interesting spot. Last week I gave her a 4 because it was not looking great for her. This week, I'm going to give her a 5 because things are looking a little bit better for her. The Tyler stuff was good for her in the sense that she found out that Tyler was coming after her and Tyler lost power, and Tyler was one of the main adversaries that she had. She also manages to flip Davon and Bailey, whichever one of them stays, but probably Davon, to not want to come after her and work with her. That's good. Her position has improved, but not dramatically. Not dramatically. There are still people like Enzo and Tyler who still do want to come after her. Cody still does not want to go out of his way to protect her. There are still a lot of dangerous positions that she might be put in next week, even from people not directly targeting her. If she finds herself on the block, she is the most expendable person to Cody's main power structure, if you don't count Ian, right? So I still feel like she's in a lot of danger moving forward, but she did catch some breaks this week. But she's still such a hill to climb that I can't go higher than a 5 yet. And she even somehow got tricked into trusting Tyler again this week. She did just recently talk about like, oh, maybe we will backdoor him, but I don't think she feels the urgency that she needs to. And she definitely doesn't see Enzo coming.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know if I'm next, but I agree with you. And that was basically what I was going to say. So I give her a 5 as well.
Yep. 5 for me as well. Danny, man, here's the thing. I gave her a 3 last week, which was the lowest score that she got from anybody. I think that she's actually done some good work in terms of like her social ability, just like misting people who maybe previously were coming after her. Obviously not everybody, but some people. Day feels assuming Day stays, Day feels particularly good with Danny. I would love to see them, and it would also like no tea. This has no impact on the game, but it would also help her popularity. Like if the Danny of old like came back and like started working with Devon somehow and got something going, like that would be really fun to see. So maybe I'm responding to that. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like Danny, just like I said, she operates based on who she likes, and she was so confused. She's like, Tyler, I liked you. Why would you betray me like that?
Right.
And like, Cody, I really like you. Why would you keep that information from me? Like, she just like, that's just how she operates. The audience agrees with us here. They gave her a 5 as well. I feel like Danny, we have all been such on the same page about Danny all season long, except for last week when Brent gave her a 3. All right. Let's talk Enzo. Melissa, last week you shocked the world.
Yes, this is where Taryn lost his freaking mind.
You
What
guys
happened?
were crazy. That honestly, I still stand by that rating. I think that like I don't think he played his HOH well. I don't think that he made a good move for his game. I think that, and I think the main reason why I gave him such a low score was because I don't see. I feel like he's all talk. Like I feel like he's not. He's just going to keep treading water, and he's not ever going to make any of these big moves he's talking about. And eventually it's going to be too late. I felt like I saw from the way he was, it was like I had been seeing him talk a big game, and I had been really impressed with him. And like, I saw him as the kind of person who would be willing to make big moves and would be willing to just be like, you know what, I'm going like guns blazing. I'm taking everyone out, whatever. But when it came down to the wire, I just felt like it like flashed before my eyes of like him always being like, like, I don't think this is the week. Like, let's have somebody else take this move. Like, why don't we have somebody else make the move? And I felt like that I could just see that replaying over and over again. And it was like, I didn't see a path forward for him, to the end. And I felt like, or at least as like a winner, I just felt like he was always going to play it safe, and he was always going to like, I just didn't see the game there. And I was disappointed because I don't know. I just saw him as a different player. And then it was like, oh, okay, you're not that kind of player. And so I was disappointed, and I felt like he didn't play his HOH well. And so yeah, that I stand by my rating last week. However, I do think he's in a really good position this week. I feel like with everything blowing up around him, I feel like he's still totally safe essentially. And I feel like everybody, he has not gotten caught in the crossfire or crosshairs of anybody. And I feel like he people don't even like suspect him. I feel like he's like, okay, we got to get this person out. And they're like sitting there on the other cam being like, I love Enzo. We got to keep Enzo around. Like, he's great. I trust him. And it's just like, he's so slick about everything. So I do feel much better about him this week. So I think I'm going to go up to an 8.
All right.
Excellent.
Yes. Last week I gave Enzo a 9, and I talked about how I would like to give him a 10, but for a 10, I just feel like you need to be a little more active. I feel the same way this week. I think his position has improved since last week, dramatically even. And it makes me want to give him a 10, but it's just like I want to be a little bit stingy with those 10s, just like I try to be stingy with the 1s. And I want.
Oh, Taryn, live a little. Just give them like candy.
I want to see a little bit more active play in a week that I give a 10. So I can't go to a 10 for Enzo, but I feel very, very good about Enzo right now. I think that the Tyler stuff. The fact that Tyler tried to quit, which would have been bad for Enzo's game if Tyler had left, but ended up staying and losing some credibility in the house in the process, was all just like, it was just like somebody presented Day talked about what a gift it was that Tyler presented to Christmas, but no, the gift that Tyler presented was to Enzo, because this is so good for him. I'm really looking at Enzo as the most likely winner right now, because he is the safest person in the house by far. He's proven that he can win competitions. Everyone loves him. And I think that there is a lot of respect for him, both as a person and as a player. And I think he absolutely could win a jury, which was always my biggest concern for Enzo. So I'm giving him a 9, and that's where I stand. I would love to see Enzo be a little more, I think what maybe Melissa's looking for, a little more cutthroat, a little more like if Enzo wins HOH next week, it's like cuts Danny or something fun, or something like more active, and it works out for him. I'd love to give him a 10, or maybe I will go up eventually when we get closer to the end. But for now, it's a 9. Brent, how do you feel?
Let me just also say to the people in the chat or whoever who are saying like, well, you don't just need to make big moves to be a good player. Like that doesn't make you a good player. It's like, yeah, no, I get that. It's not that I wanted him to make a big move. It was that he was saying, we need to get Danny out. We've got to do something, like agreeing with everybody basically and saying like, we have to do this, but I don't want to be the one to do it. So can somebody else just like handle this? Like, I don't want to like put my neck out there and do it. And I think that if he had said like, no, I don't want to get rid of Danny. Like I want to keep her around. Like this move is wrong, so I'm not going to do it. That's different than being like, yes, we need to do this, but can someone else just do it for me instead? That's what I had a problem with. I didn't have a problem with the fact that he didn't make a big move. That's not the problem. The problem is that he wanted a big move to be made. He just didn't want to be the one to do it. He didn't want to have the guts. He didn't have the guts to do it. If he thought that something would be good for his game. So that's what I'm worried about. Not I think that he just doesn't make good moves.
And my problem is that like his such amazing position, I feel like this week was a little bit gifted to him by the Tyler stuff, rather than something that he actively did on his own. So that's why I didn't go to a 10.
Great.
Yeah. So I feel like the fact that he wanted other people to do his dirty work for him is sort of indicative of the fact that he's in an amazing position because he's literally friends with everybody. So he doesn't want to be the one to do anything. He wants other people to do it because he has too many irons in the fire, which is the reason why I'm also not going to give him a 10. I'm going to give him a 9. I also am very encouraged by his play this week. My gosh, he's so good socially and everybody loves him. But the one thing that does run through my head is the fact that how are people going to think when they get to the end of this game and they realize that Enzo's been playing them? Like he's not the Enzo that they think he is right now. He's been playing really hard. Are they going to feel betrayed by him? I also feel like it's easier to feel betrayed by the person you at least knew that was playing the game rather than the person that you expected was a good guy all along. In actuality, he was playing you the hardest. So I don't know how I feel about that still. So I'm going to reserve the 10 and give him a 9.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting point. Who would have thought that we'd be talking about Enzo as like, could the jury be bitter against Enzo for playing them so well? I personally feel like this jury will try their best to not be bitter, especially with somebody like Enzo. But who knows? Enzo can be a little rough around the edges sometimes. So I can see that point for sure. The audience has been pretty consistent with Enzo. They gave him an 8 last week. I think it's a higher 8 this time, but it's an 8 again from the audience. So there you go with Enzo, going to be a 9 overall. Let's talk Ian. Melissa, how do you feel about Ian?
Yeah, I don't feel so great about Ian. I think that a lot of people are thinking of him as like, he's expendable. We can just get rid of him. Not a problem. And not only that, like people who aren't thinking of him that way are thinking like, okay, we got to get rid of him because he's paired with Nicole. And that's like not okay. We got to get rid of him. So also like you said earlier, he kind of just like, he poked his head out and was like, wait, so this is what's happening in the game. And then was like, never mind. Okay, I'm going back. I would apologize to everybody. I'm so sorry. Oh, I was such an idiot. Like, it's like, what? This is sad. Like, why? I was so excited about Ian last week. And it's like, it's disappointing how it can change so quickly. So it's tough because I feel like I felt better about him last week. I feel like I'm teetering between a 3 and a 4 because I felt better about him last week when I gave him a 4. But I don't feel so terrible. I don't think he's done like so bad this week that he really did not much worse, but I don't feel as confident in him. So I think I'm going to give him a 3.
Yeah, Brent.
Yeah, I also don't feel as confident in him, but I don't know if that's just emanating from the fact that he's not being as demonstrative about what he wants to do. I mean, like I know that there are a few people who would like to take a shot at Ian, but even those people don't seem all that set on Ian. Like he's one of a few different targets. Maybe we'll take out Ian. Maybe we won't. I don't know. Like he hasn't really caused any angst with people. It's not like they need to get him out of the house. But I am sort of like with Melissa in that I don't feel great about him because it's like where's the fire for Ian? Is that not here? Like I felt like it was there for a moment last week, but then it's like it was so fleeting that I feel almost a fool for believing him.
It burned too bright. It burned itself right out.
Yeah. So I give him a 4 this week, but it's not a strong 4. And I feel like overall he's gonna need to do some hard work or hope that the game breaks open for him in a way that I can't currently predict.
Yeah, I also went with a 3 for Ian here. I think that basically what happened last week with the Wall Yeller, it opened his mind, and like I said, he burned very bright, and he burned himself right out, and he's right back where he started before the Wall Yeller, except with significantly lower credibility, and he had very little to begin with. And he has even less runway to work with than he did before. So many people are talking about, like, guys, it's time. Ian has got to go already. It's got to happen. Nicole just today was saying, like, I'm so done with him. Like, he's stressing me out. He's asking me questions. It's just no good. Even people like David and Kevin are like, Ian is part of the core. He's one of the dangers. Don't trust Ian. He doesn't even have the, like, I have to go down from last week. He has the connections that he had last week, though tenuous, were at least existent. Now they don't exist. He has nowhere to run, nowhere to move. He just needs to start winning competitions and breaking the game open, and that's his only chance. And I think that it's possible that it could happen. We might see an endurance this week, but until it does, he is quickly running out of room, and he's gonna get crushed real soon. The audience, though, does not agree with us still. The audience still feels very good about Ian, at least in comparison to us. They gave him a 5.
Y'all love Ian too much. Like, I didn't even give him a strong 4, and you're giving him a 5. Okay, fine.
It's a strong 5, too.
Yeah. My goodness. I fell over. I'd have done the Terran look, like if they'd given him like a 6 or something.
All right, let's talk Kevin Campbell. I can tell you that Kevin was nailed right on a 4 for the audience. That's where they stand on Kevin. Brent, how do you feel about Kevin?
I gave him a 4 as well. I gave him a 3 last week. I feel like marginally better about Kevin, but like it's not that good. It's just that like again, I'm in the same position with Kevin that I am in with Day, where I'm like, I feel like the game's about to break open, and if the game breaks open, that's when Kevin does his best work. But it may not break open. Like I've been saying that for like a week or two now, and it still has not done it. Also, the fact that Kevin's sort of a nervous Nelly, and that I don't even know if he would make the moves that he would need to make, even if he won HOH. Like I'm nervous that he might cop out and do something stupid. So I guess that's reasons why I should have given him a 3. But position-wise, like I'd like to think that he's in a position where he can overcome. Like, is somebody really going to waste their HOH on him? I guess like Cody and a few other people might. Yeah, I'm going to stick with my 4.
All right, Melissa.
He's not annoying me as much as he used to.
Yeah, I feel like the problem with Kevin is I feel like he's an easy pawn. He doesn't really have any allies. Like
anybody,
there's no one who would really be upset if he like accidentally went home. Like, it's just, I feel like people already think of him as like a pawn star, and I feel like he's going to just be put on the block week after week as like an easy person. And I think you're right in that, like, who wants to waste their HOH on Kevin? But at the same time, it's an easy one. Like if somebody is in a good position and feels like they kind of have everyone thinking that they're on their side in the house, an easy person to get out is just like, okay, let's just like send Kevin out the door this week. And so I do see a situation where like I could see Kevin going home next week, So I don't feel so great about his game, and I don't feel like he's really put himself in a better position this week than he was last week. So I'm going to stick with my 3.
There you go. For a second, I thought you were going to give him a 4, and it would have been a perfect inverse of last week, because I am actually going to drop from a 4 to a 3 on Kevin. I want to give him a 4. I would give him a 4 if I didn't think he was the most likely person to be evicted next week. That's the biggest problem I have, is that I do think a lot of people would at the very least put him on the block. A lot of people would want to send him home. And the fact that David has a power to save himself, who is one of the other options as an easy boot, that's very dangerous for him. I also don't love the way he's played this week. He's been walking around acting like he has a power. Everyone thinks he has a power. That's one of the reasons why they want him gone. So like Brent, you call him a nervous Nelly, but he's been walking around, strutting his stuff like he's got a power.
Yeah, but he doesn't though. I know. Which is bad. I know.
Yes.
It's bad.
And on top of that, I think he has fallen into the trap that a lot of players fall into, which is when you are on the outs, you spend all of your time with the person going home that week, because the people on the block are being shunned. Nobody wants to talk to them because they're on the block, and they're looking for anybody to bond with. And now that people are looking, you're desperate for any connection. So somebody like Kevin, who's not connected to anyone really, is like, oh yes, I'm with you guys. You guys need people, and I'm here, and we get to bond now. And he's been spending so much time, and I know he's already with Day, but he's been spending so much time with Day and Bay, and Bay's going home. Why are you spending so much time with them so openly? It's really, that's why people like Cody and like that group. They're like, well, he's over there. It's not a good strategy. You should not spend all your time with the person going home. It happens a lot on the show. So don't like that. His reads are still way off. And so it's a 3. Let's talk Memphis.
Okay, I'll start. Memphis, man, again, I never, for somebody who won HOH in week 2 and came out like a house of fire, I've never seen somebody be so, like, such a non-entity in my eyes. Maybe it's my fault because, like, when I'm watching the feeds, like, I don't really go to Memphis all that much. And even when I do, a lot of times, like, he's not talking game. Like, he'll be talking about the world or, like, his life or his restaurants or something, or starting a podcast, God knows what. Imagine that, starting a podcast. But I give him a 6, and I feel like most, even somebody like David, Memphis is not aware of the fact that David's not going to come for him, not because he likes Memphis, but because he doesn't want to waste an HOH on him. He feels like Memphis really isn't the power structure of the house right now, and he's probably right about that. But at least it sort of gave David somebody to go after, as an enemy, and you can like worry about people. But Memphis at least doesn't have that problem. He's like, look, I'm going after David. That's who I'm going after. And I feel like that, as long as somebody's going after somebody else, you don't have to worry about who they might also be coming after. If Memphis is going after David, he's not coming after you. So given that, and the fact that he's in the, as Julie points out often, the dominant alliance in the house, or one of the dominant alliances in the house, at least an alliance that still on paper is real to some of the people in it. Yeah, I'll give him a 6.
I gave him a 7 last week. If anything, I think his position has improved this week. Right. He's still cruising along. One of the things I was worried about with Memphis was his jury chances. I think that with Christmas being Christmas, with Tyler being Tyler, Memphis looks like a more palatable other option. And those are 2 of the more likely people that he would be sitting next to, I think. You're also looking at maybe like a Nicole or a Cody. And those people, I think he might have a little more trouble beating. But I think his jury chances are going up. And with all of the chaos that's still happening, the Tyler, Danny Civil War feud thing being delayed further, that only helps Memphis, because the later it is, the more that each side will need a free agent to help them fight in their war, which makes him more valuable. He can stick around longer. So I like everything that's happening here. There's a very real chance that when it comes time for Memphis to turn it on, he just flops. And I've been giving him 7s all season. I'm like, oh, he's actually a 3.
Right.
But for now, I like his position. I like that he put himself here rather than just being conscripted into some group. He formed this group so that he could do this. So that's why I'm giving him a little more credence here than I might normally give someone. And it's a 7 from me. Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a 7 for me as well. I am actually kind of impressed with the way he's been able to blend into the background. Like Brent said, like his HOH, we were all like, oh my God, what's this guy doing? He's kind of got HOH-itis. He's kind of wild. He's making all these decisions, whatever. But now he's just totally blended into the background and nobody really thinks of him that way. And especially because he hurt his back, nobody thinks of him as a comp threat. So that will be a reason to keep him around. I also think that he's actually been really smart to kind of stay out of all the drama and everything like that. He just like goes to bed and nobody really thinks about him. And I think that's actually a really good strategy. So yeah, he's a 7 for me.
There it is. The audience, in a very, very close vote, went up to a 7 on Memphis this week. So there it is for Memphis. Interesting stuff. I'll start here with Nicole.
Okay.
I gave her a 7 last week. I've got to go up myself. I like her position. She's continued to stay out of trouble. She's survived multiple wall yell attempts. She's still covered on a lot of bases. I feel like she could be targeted, yes. But thinking about it, I'm not sure she goes home against anybody.
I agree.
I think she stays against Danny. I think she stays against Tyler. I think she stays against Cody. I think she stays against Christmas, Memphis. I don't know how you get her out right now. And that's pretty impressive. And I like how she's been able to maneuver. I really do. She's still not in the driver's seat. She's not fully in control of the game. That's where Cody sits right now. But it hasn't really mattered too much because every single week she's gotten her way. Every single week, the person she wanted gone, except for maybe the Kaser week. She's pretty much had her pick, like, go home. And this Bailey eviction is her fault, and she's taking 0 of the blame. She is a sneaky little snake, and she's doing pretty well. So I gave her an 8 this week, and watch out for this one.
Yeah, she's an 8 for me as well. I gave her an 8 last week, and I still feel the same way. So. An 8.
Yes. I'm sorry. I didn't expect it to be that fast. I was looking down at my phone.
Well, I figured
It's cool. I get it. Yeah, I also gave her an 8 this week. I thought I was going to be the one on the panel that was going to be like, ta-da! I gave her an 8. But yeah, she's really positioned herself monumentally well. And I also like the fact that she does have Day's loyalty. Like, I don't know if Day's like totally trusts her, but she's not going to come for Nicole. And she knows that like if she's got an in with the people in power, it's probably Nicole. And she's like, I think she at one point talked about the fact that she was talking to Danny. She was like, I know Nicole's been doing work for me in the house. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I'd say it quite like that, but like she's been protecting her. She's gonna vote for her to stay. So I do feel like that with Bay out of the house, Day moves over to Nicole. Nicole's position even improves, assuming Day stays again, which we're assuming. So yeah, it's an 8. I like. And she's also a little bit like easier for me to listen to now. Like, she's not so whiny without Janelle in the house.
Well,
sorry, I know that doesn't really affect my ratings, but it affects my opinion of her.
Well, I will tell you that it came close this time, but the audience still is at a 6 for Nicole.
And the audience wants to say, oh, Brenton, I'm biased and based on emotion or whatever. Yeah, okay. You tell me that 6 is accurate, please.
Yeah, just to quickly scroll here, I believe the audience has been at a 6 for Nicole this whole season, without fail. That they have not shifted their rating for Nicole at all. So it's always been I mean, there's been
but Brent
small
and me
shifts.
we're the problem. We're the problem.
Yeah. All right. So let's. I think she still makes an 8 though from us. So the audience can't get in the way there. All right, let's talk Tyler. I believe I went first last time, so Melissa.
Oh God, I don't want to go first on this one. Can we do the audience?
Let's do the audience.
Okay, let's do the audience. The audience last week gave Tyler a 9. This week, the audience gave Tyler a 5.
Ah.
That's a big drop.
It's a big drop.
Yeah.
This one's hard.
Go ahead. You want to go?
Well, no, you can go ahead. I just think this one is a hard one. This
No
I
one
agree,
wants
it's
to
very-
take this one.
it's
It's
okay,
yeah,
so
I don't
hard.
want to take it.
I don't want to be I didn't want to be too hard on him, but I feel like I had to hold his feet to the fire. Like, remember, we're evaluating it week to week, not his overall game. So, like, as far as like week to week this week, I felt like he did some good things this week, but a lot of bad things this week, and I do feel like he's somewhat hurt his chances, at least currently, of winning the game. Also, I question how much his heart is in it. Like, is he going to have another one of these episodes? Like, I mean, maybe that shouldn't come into my evaluating him or not, but I don't know how it cannot. I gave him a better score than the audience, but it wasn't that much better. I gave him a 6. And I gave him a 9 last week, too. I almost went with a 7, but, like, is it really a 7 play this week? I don't think so.
I was feeling the same way, Brent. I actually, I'm looking at a 6 here. I very poor gameplay, just straight up. Taking every personal thing out of it. This is terrible for his game that he did this, that he tried to quit. Christmas is going to lose a little faith in him. David now is like for sure locked in that Tyler is like this manipulator that was pretending to quit. After and again, like the way he handled it afterward was terrible for his game, because he did convince Bay that it was all a ploy, and he has not communicated well with Bay and Day at all. So they are both convinced. Whether Day was the one that miscommunicated or not, Tyler has not explained himself well enough so that they feel good about him, and they are spreading that to other people, and that's bad for him. He did manage to sway Danny back, which is one of the reasons why I was giving him a 6. Now I'm seeing that maybe she's not on board, but I don't want to change my rating based on stuff I haven't witnessed myself. I did that the first week and I regretted it, so I'm not going to change my rating, even though I think it's probably more like a 5 if Danny really wants to backdoor him. But I already locked into a 6, and I feel like I can't trust it. I can't trust it.
Yeah.
I really want to, but I've got to watch it myself to make sure that she's actually going to do it, or if people are being hyperbolic. So that's where I feel like he's at. His positioning is still fine. I think it's better than Danny. I think it's better than Christmas. He has a better chance to win than Christmas does. He's better positioned than Danny is. He's safer than both of them, or not both of them. He's safer than Danny. And I feel like he is in a position to start to rebuild. His head is back in the game. I know he's a very talented player. I think that he can get back into the swing of things, but this week in particular was so disastrous. If we're talking about like level of gameplay this week, it's like a 3 or 2. Position wise, he's probably closer to a 7 or higher. No, more like a 7. And just like, it's not good. 6 feels very generous now, but I like I said, I locked it in. So Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really tough one, because I think if you would ask me, like during the whole period of time when he was like, yeah, I'm going to quit, or even like right after it was decided that he wasn't going to quit, I think that, I honestly, like, I would have given him a really low score, just because it's like, okay, he's asking to quit. He's asking to put on the block. Like, he's not making any good decisions. And then even afterwards, when it's like, okay, he doesn't go and explain himself or apologize to Day and Bay, like, that's really bad. And like, that makes him look bad to everyone in the house and someone who's not to be trusted. But then it's like, it does seem like he's kind of just like gone back into the fold with like his original people. And it does kind of seem like he's still in a fine position. I do think that like, I am worried about him, because it seemed like he had squashed the thing with Danny. Now it seems like Danny's still like, no, I want to get Tyler out. So I think there are people who are gunning for Tyler. And I don't think he's in as safe a position. And honestly, just like this week was just really bad for him. And I'm worried that like moving forward, he will have troubles with a jury vote. If anybody points out like this guy was trying to leave, like he asked to be put on the blog, like that's not a winner. So I sense issues, but maybe this whole week is forgotten and he turns it around and everything goes forward, whatever. But yeah, I think I need to go down to a 5 like the audience.
Yeah. This I hate when information pops up during the podcast because I really feel bad about my 6 right now, and I feel like it should be a 5.
You can change it.
Come
with us, me and the audience.
I feel like I feel like I locked it in. I don't want to change things based on information. Like I said, I regretted it last time, but okay. That's
you regretted
it
it last time. I remember that.
Yes. So. There it is. It's a 6 overall for Tyler. So there it is. That's the ratings for the week. It's gonna do some damage here on the Stock Watch. Maybe not quite as bad as it could have been. That people holding Tyler are going to be losing about 35% of their investment, and most people are invested in Tyler. So not most people, but he has the most amount of people invested in him, I should say. So it is over or close to 600,000 Stock Watch dollars invested in Tyler. Let's quickly run through some of the other questions on the survey, and then maybe we'll get a peek at the leaderboard here. I asked you guys to rate the episodes this week of Big Brother 22. You said 5.1, down from a 5.3 last week. I asked you to rate the feeds this week. You said a 6.1, up from a 5.9 last week. But how would you rate the season as a whole so far? Last week it was a 5.5. This week, a 4.5. Big drop in the quality overall of the season.
Doesn't surprise me. This is the one. This is the part of the season where we really started to feel really bad. Like I really didn't like the way that the episode went. I didn't like the way that the feeds went. Mm-hmm. Nothing really felt great about the season. We're really starting to dislike some of the house guests. Some of the house guests are starting to reveal themselves to be people that we really don't want to be associated with or watch on television for another 6, 7, 8 weeks on through the jury phase of the game. So yeah, I get it.
Yes. I asked you to rank the players from your favorite to your least favorite. I'm expecting a lot of shifts here. Last week, Tyler had retaken the crown as the audience's favorite player. This week, he has dropped to 5th place overall. Not as huge a drop as you might have imagined. First place this week. You guys have guesses?
The first place, I think, has to be Davon.
You guys are both very close.
Really?
It's actually Enzo by a hair.
Wow.
Over Davon.
That.
Yeah. Wow. The average, just these scores are fairly arbitrary, but the scores were a 9.37 versus 9.24, so very, very close between the two of them. But Enzo is going to take it by a hair.
I feel like it's a lot of the fact that Day, Bay, Kevin to a lesser extent, they really enjoy Enzo. Like a lot of that love for them transfers over to Enzo via them, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Third place, you guys can probably guess this one pretty easily.
Bailey?
Again, close, but no, it's actually Ian. Ian is in third place, given his rating in the Stock Watch. Bailey in 4th place. Tyler just below Bailey, which may be a first in the favorite rating. Then we have Cody, Memphis, Danny, Kevin, David, Nicole, and Christmas in last place. So Nicole and Christmas down at the bottom.
What was Christmas last week?
She was like 7th or something.
Okay. How many
8th.
people voted in the poll this week, by the way?
2,987.
Okay, so about 3,000 people. Okay.
Yes. So let me see here. That's the favorites. Strategically, who should Christmas have targeted this week? I had a typo here. I'm sorry, guys. This was not intentional shade. I copy the previous survey, and sometimes I forget to transfer things over. Who should Christmas have targeted for her game this week? The audience, 30% said Danny, who is who she should have targeted. Brent, do you agree?
I mean, it's so funny because I'm like, she shouldn't have really won HOH, but then I'm like, oh wait, she didn't do anything to win HOH. She just got dumped on her basically. So I guess she could have buzzed in with the wrong answer, but she's not gonna do that. We know Christmas, she's not gonna do that. So I mean, I guess I would disagree with that the way things currently are this week. But then again, if this week had played out differently, then the things that are happening right now, it's like the butterfly effect. This would be the timeline that we live in. Does that make sense? So I don't know how I feel about that. I guess I would have preferred her to go after like David or somebody and just take a piece off the board and quietly move into next week where everybody loves her. That would give her so many more options. You know what I mean? Like let's talk about that. Why? Let's say she targets David, puts up a pawn next to him. I don't know who that pawn would be.
David was 5th, by the way, with 7% of the vote.
Yeah, I'm like, take David off the board. He's not doing anything for her. She doesn't really have a relationship with him. She does have relationships with Bay and Day. Leave Bay and Day in the game as a target for somebody else to have to deal with. That's not going to mean that she has to deal with them. That means she's safe for another week. So I
feel like if I'm looking at it like pieces on the board, I think if she could get away with it, the best move would have been Ian. And that taking Ian out would have been most beneficial to her because it weakens Nicole's position a little bit. It takes out a piece on the board. She retains Bailey and Devon, and she is able to stay solid with everyone. The challenge is, can she do that without pissing Nicole off? Now, Nicole was not happy with Ian shortly after the HOH competition. So if she had gone to Nicole and been like, let's take a shot at him, ultimate betrayal, right? There's maybe a chance she could make it happen. But it's very important for her to keep Nicole with her. So that's where I feel like, she might not have been able to pull it off. And yes, I know Ian is her untouchable, which not really, but that's what I think I would have gone with. Ian was in 3rd place in the poll with 10%. Bailey was in 2nd place with 22% of the vote. So a lot of people, or at least a decent amount of people, did agree ultimately with the Bailey decision. 22% of people. Who do you want to be evicted this week? 88% of the vote.
88, is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bailey over Devon.
It's not we have hate towards Bailey. I don't. I love Bailey to death. I was happy she was on the season, and I'm really bummed that she's probably going to go. But Devon is our heart, and, she's a real fan of the show. She lives and breathes the show. I feel like she did wrong in 18, so I'm happy to see her make the jury here in 22.
It's super unfortunate because I really like Bailey, and I feel like she's played such a great game so far with what she was given. And I think she's really, really intelligent, game wise and everything. But I do feel like Devon has a better path forward, or at least that there is some sort of path forward for her. I feel like Bailey would just have issues, especially because now, she doesn't trust Tyler, and Tyler, it's the whole thing. So, and that was kind of like her other person that she could possibly work with, whereas I feel like Devon now has kind of like more of an open board, and I feel like people are more willing to entertain the possibility of working with Devon. So I do think that it's better for the two of them, like if they want one of them to get to the end, it's better for the two of them to have Devon stay, I think.
Yeah. Who do you want to win HOH next week? 46% say Devon, 24% say Tyler, and 10% say Ian. That's pretty much everyone with a significant percentage. I do not believe we're going to get an updated leaderboard tonight, but that's okay because we can just say what we chose to do here. I believe the best buy this week was Nicole. I think Nicole was the best buy this week. So anyone that went in on Nicole is going to see a nice payday for themselves. It looks like about 100,000 stock watch dollars were invested in Nicole. So it's a decent chunk of people are going to make some change here. I personally sold all of my Tyler stock, as mentioned on the update or the recap. Thank Dan Giesling, I did. And I ended up buying Enzo, which was still a good buy. Not the best buy, but still a good buy this week. Melissa, what did you do?
I don't really remember, but I think I bought Enzo and Tyler. So not great on the Tyler front, but I think I did pretty well with the Enzo one.
There you go.
And to be fair, I had Enzo last week when I rated him low, so it wasn't a stock watch, or it wasn't like a my stock buy related rating.
Right.
It literally I
go out of my way. If I know that I bought somebody, then I usually go out of my way to be like really, really fair because I do not want to be accused of like if it's somebody that I didn't buy, then I'll whatever I'm feeling I'll give them. But if it's somebody like if I know I bought Davon stock, I'm not gonna give her a 6 when everyone else is giving her a 4 because I know how that's gonna look. You know what I mean? Come on. So I have some integrity. Yeah.
I personally I care way more about the historical data of the ratings and what they say and the things that we can get from them than the game. But
me trying to rig it for myself. I can't even rig it for myself and win. I can't even do that.
Brent, who did you go in on?
I went in on Kevin. I felt like the game was getting ready to break open for Danny. And I really thought that Kevin was going to be in a good position, but in actuality, I didn't do squats for myself. Kevin earned me a whole 3 cents. He went up 1%. So I basically am in the while other people are winning money, I'm staying exactly where I'm at, basically.
There you go. That was definitely a risk there. Don't think it paid off, but you didn't lose. A lot of people lost money. Tyler, like I said, lost 35%. Bailey, I think. Bailey, I think
I also had one in Bailey. I think I gave Bailey an extra one, so I lost on that one too.
I believe Bailey lost 49%.
Hey, I'm not throwing the game, Melissa Bot. I really thought that Kevin. I thought he couldn't go lower than 3. That's the one thing, because he was rated a 3 last week. I thought, well, he can't go lower than a 3 because I didn't think anybody was necessarily going to come for him, because I thought, okay, if the people that don't like the Kevin contingent win HOH, they're going to go after Bay and Day, not for Kevin. So I really thought that Kevin was okay buy. Plus, I thought there was some upside. If he could get up to a 5 or something, I really felt like he could earn some money. But it was a bad call. It was a bad call.
Yes, well, if you're interested in playing, you can join at any time. You will, start behind, but that's fine. The leaderboard is just one aspect of the game. You can also just play the game to play the game and accumulate money. You will have an all-time stat for how much money you've accumulated over the course of your entire lifetime of playing in the stock watch. We've also added a new feature to the leaderboard because there are so many players now. It can be, I think, a little discouraging to be in 5th, 100th place. But now, when you look at your the number placement, you hover over it, will tell you your percentage, and you can see that 500th place is actually top 10%, which I think feels a lot better, right? So you can see what percentage you are at in terms of the overall leaderboard now. So that's what we've got this week. Again, go to realitystockwatch.com. The market will open at some point, and we'll close it at 8 p.m. Eastern this week. We've been getting live shows, so hopefully we continue to get live shows.
I don't think we're going to get a live show this week with Bailey and Davon on the block. I think that the producers will, because I think that they're worried that they're going to say something against Christmas, which they they should say something against Christmas. But I think that the producers don't want that because they're cowards. Because again, they've been blocking the feeds all week. Anytime anything came up, they've been blocking the feeds. I can't even believe they showed us that fight because they've been blocking everything else. So I feel like they might tape it, but we'll see.
Well, hopefully not, because then I'd just completely be wrong. Like, this is the anti-stock watch for me. I'm making the wrong coin flip every week. It's that's what we're looking forward to. The website might not be up right now. It usually takes a little bit of time to update and for people to stop, crashing it and stuff. But I will be live tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. Thursday, with a stock watch stream on twitch.tv/Taron Armstrong, if you're looking for more answers to questions that you might have or advice for what to do. Melissa, any final thoughts here for the week?
Something I did want to clarify was a tweet I made this week where I talked about how, why was it okay to rip people to shreds who have previously quit Big Brother seasons, whereas this one is different because it's for his mental health and we should all respect it. So why is that okay? And like, apparently people misinterpreted that as me saying that we should be bashing all these people and that it is okay to bash all these people, which was certainly not my intent. I was trying to point out the hypocrisy of when it's one person versus when it's people who we don't necessarily like versus, when it's Tyler or something, that maybe there's a difference or whatever, but I don't think there is a difference. And I think that, nobody should be bashed, and I'm not advocating people to be bashed for quitting. I think that it is something that I don't like, and it's disappointing when you see people quit the game, since it's something that a lot of people would kill to play, and a lot of people want to be a part of it, and to see people just give up is certainly disappointing. But if it's an individual's decision if they want to leave or if they don't want to leave. I think that number one, I think that they should leave and not force the HOH to put them up on the block and like waste a whole week of our time and all that sort of stuff. Like, just go. Like, if you want to go, just go. And then also I think that if you do leave, I do think that it taints your legacy as a player. And I think that this situation, like if Tyler were to have quit, I do think it would have tainted his legacy as a player. I think prior to this season and even during this season, I've thought of him as like one of the top tier players. It's like, you've got Dan and Derek and Will and Tyler is like my thought. But I think that if he were to have quit, I don't think I would consider him in that top tier anymore. So I think that is something that is, and I think also it's like, of course, people are going to feel upset and sad. And, just because somebody says like, I want to leave the game, I want to get out of the game. Like, I think I want to do this or whatever. I don't think that like necessarily they can't like change their mind or decide to stay or whatever and have that, I think that's something fine as well. But I just think that, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is that like, I don't think that anybody should be like torn to shreds or bashed or anything. But I do think that like people can feel disappointed and people can feel upset when people are quitting. And that's just that. So I just wanted to clarify.
Yes.
Excellent.
I also actually did have a point of clarification from this morning on the update. There was a moment I did fail to recognize an argument being made where it would have been very relevant to point out that that Tyler and David were set up in the preseason by Ovi, and that is the primary reason that Tyler is working with David in the game, and that was valuable information to point out at the time. So just wanted to point that out here for everyone to know, in case you didn't watch and look, because the only reason you might not have known that is because you haven't been watching on twitch.tv/Taron Armstrong when Ovi came on my stream to explain how he talked to David and Tyler in the preseason. It was a very fun stream. So check it out.
I
Brent,
just want to say really quickly,
yes.
number one, you can find me at One Lucky Gay. Number two, you can thank the moderators for tonight in the chat because they did a fantastic job. All of the moderators in the chat. Like RHAP has gotten so big and the chat room has gotten so large because obviously there's not a lot on television right now. Survivor's not on, other things aren't on. That people are watching Big Brother and they want to talk about Big Brother. So 4,000 or 5,000 people in the chat is really amazing. And that becomes really amazing for the moderators to have to deal with. But they did a really, really good job tonight overall. So I want to thank them and give them a lot of congratulations because that was not an easy job tonight. And I think that's about it. I got nothing else to say. I just, I know it. I did have one other thing to say. I am so sick of hearing about players, house guests, who don't want to play the season, whose hearts aren't in the season, who never really wanted to come back for the season. It's so frustrating. Either you shit or get off the pot. Like either you're on the season and you're going to play it or not. Like this half-assing by some of these players, Ian, Bailey, Tyler in the house of that. They can't decide what they want to do and how far they want to go in terms of putting their heart into the season. Like stop wasting our time. Play the game or get out.
I totally agree with that. And it makes me have way more respect for people like Danny or people like Enzo or, people who actually really care about it and who want to be there. And even Nicole, I feel like Nicole really wants to be there. So
she desperately does.
And so that's the thing is I feel like people can, be upset with them and all that and whatever. And even Cody wants to. I just feel like it's frustrating to see people be like, oh, I don't really care. I'm not really in it. I don't really care. Send me home. I don't care, whatever. Whereas we've got these players who people are hating on, Danny, Nicole, whatever, when they actually care. And I feel like that makes me respect them a lot more than it makes me respect someone who we like as a person, but really isn't invested in the game.
All right. Well, that's what we have for you this week. As Brent said, you can find him at One Lucky Gay. Melissa is at It's Melissa with 3 A's. You can find me on Twitter at Armstrong Taron. That's where I post the link for the survey that we use to poll the audience for these podcasts. You can find them Tuesday mornings after the update on that Twitter, my Twitter, at Armstrong Taron. You can also find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taron Armstrong. Check me out there. Hang out with me. We'll have some fun watching the feeds, talking about stuff like the Stock Watch. It's a lot of fun. Check it out.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, I just want to say really quickly, you should check out Taron's Twitch stream. For those of you who've never done it before, you get a whole different kind of Taron over there. Taron is not like Taron from RHAP, where he's the host of the show and he has to keep things moving. He's a lot more chill and laissez-faire over there. If you want to talk to Taron and learn a little bit about him, go over to his Twitch stream. He'll talk to you.
I don't have this voice when I talk. Just hey guys, what's up?
Yeah, right, exactly. All right,
All
cool.
right,
I pinned your Twitch for you.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Of course, if you're not a patron of Rob Has a Podcast, that's another thing that you should be doing with your life. There are lots of great benefits to doing so. So check out robhasawebsite.com and become a patron today. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.